Let's hope that things work today and that we don't get DC'd and any sort of weird crap happening. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this on YouTube, please remember to hit the like button and also click the link in the description down below because it is always better when it's live. We have the Q&A coming up in about half an hour. About half an hour, a little bit less than half an hour. And then after that, the Patreon special, the podcast, the weekly podcast on Patreon. So if you are a patron, please remember to check Patreon because otherwise you'll never know that there are podcasts, you know. The Dark Lord, how you doing, fam? Token, how you doing, bro? Happy Friday. Happy Friday, bitches. How you guys doing? The God Rakim, how you doing, man? Nice to see you, boss. Nice to see you too, man. Very nice to have you here. I'm looking forward to the Q&A. Looking forward to seeing what questions people come up with. Saturday, yeah, fam? Token, not where I am. For the rest of us, it's not Saturday. Oh, shit. Ladies and gentlemen, hearts in chat. It is the Dark Lord's happy birthday, fam. Very, very happy to have you here on your birthday. Thank you so much for choosing to spending that day with us. Very happy to have you here, man. Katoria, how you doing? Digital Pope, how you doing? Avedon, how you doing, fam? Digit Merc, how you doing, fam? Oh, yeah. Very happy birthday. Did you do anything fun, or are you going to do something fun? Depending on, of course, what time of the day it is for you. Probably go out, get a couple of drinks, you know, get a bit crazy. Whatever, you know. Usually on my birthday, I play video games. Can't be as exciting as my dad. Are you dead? Avedon, shit. Yeah, condolences. When did you die? New carpets in. Alright, yeah, that makes a lot more sense, Avedon. Why is new carpets exciting? I can see how it's relieving. People are finally out of your house. But why is it exciting? My favorite WoW content creator? Bro, that means a lot. You know, considering all of the people that makes WoW content, that makes phenomenal WoW content, that really means a lot. I was literally just sitting here finishing editing yesterday's videos and stuff. I'm going to have to start doing a lot more, you know? I'm going to have to really start pulling at my finger. I've let it slip. We used to be, in my opinion, I think we were ground zero for WoW lore and WoW speculation. So I'm gonna have to double down and get a lot more speculation videos out there. You know, properly made speculation videos, not just live discussions. Because I was just looking over some of my old content, you know, back in the day, and we would do 4, 5, 6, sometimes even 7 videos a week of pure speculation. Michelle shows on YouTube. The Dark Lord, yeah, the problem with the shill shows was just that it sort of became derogative, if that makes sense. Like, not really, derogative isn't necessarily the right word, but it became very monotonous. You know, there's only so much lore and speculation that can be done. And trying to do 4 hours of a speculation show means that you eventually start just like double dipping into shit. Like, you eventually just start covering the same stuff, but trying to come up with like a different angle in which to cover the exact same stuff. And I think it became less fun for me to do, and eventually that would have translated to the viewers. Like, the viewers would have really not enjoyed it. So I just decided, okay, it was fun while it lasted. There was a lot of speculation theories that I wanted to get out, and it allowed me to do so. But it's time to step away from the shill show and sort of let it die. And it got replaced by the Q&A, which I actually find a hell of a lot more fun. I actually look forward every week to doing the Q&A, because the Q&A, I have no control over. It's whatever you guys ask, right? And that sort of forces me to... I have to think on my feet, and I have to sort of... I do a lot of research prior to the Q&A, by the way. Just trying to brush up on all the new lore that may have come out that I may have missed or whatever. Because I want, whenever people ask a question, I want to be able to answer the question. I don't want to get a question where I go, I can't answer that. I don't know what the answer is to that. I've never heard of that. So it keeps me a hell of a lot more on my toes. Will we ever get an Akalon book club? What do you mean I keep freezing, the Dark Lord? Is there freezes for everyone else as well? Because it doesn't look as if it's on my side. But if everyone else is experiencing that, I have to change some stuff. Okay, so it's good for everyone else. Dark Lord, maybe do a just refresh your browser to see if that fixes it. King Julian, how you doing, man? So I want to start. This is something that I may actually do in the very near future. I want to start doing book synopsis. Specifically my Warhammer books. Basically take a book and break it down into 3 or 4 videos discussing, you know, the happenings of the book. So the Dark Imperium, book number 1, book number 2 that I'm almost finished with. You know, break down the book, discuss the lore events of the Dark Imperium. I don't know how exciting that would be for people, because I'm assuming most people have read the books and don't give a shit. And I'm assuming there are much bigger channels that is already doing that. But it's something that I would enjoy doing because I love the universe. And then maybe I can do something similar for World of Warcraft. You know, go through all of the World of Warcraft books and do a sort of synopses of every single one of those books, and maybe make it like a series. So every book gets its own series of 4 or 5 videos where I discuss everything, like all of the lore that happened within the books. Infinite and Divine, great palette cleanser in between the more lore heavy series, by the way. And then I'll be starting Dark Imperium. Abaddon, I can honestly say, even though it is my sort of first Warhammer books, I can honestly say the Dark Imperium is some of the best reading I've ever done in my life. It is by far some of the best books ever. And I'm particularly excited about just, you know, my little collection starting up and starting to look not as little anymore, you know. It's still got a long ways to go, but it is getting there. Dawn of Fire, once you get there, I think. I don't think I have Dawn of Fire. I definitely don't have that. But I have a lot of, like... Oh, you mean these? Yeah, I can't find number 2 and 3. Number 2 and 1. The only one I have here is number 3. I genuinely can't find the other 2. So I'm gonna have to go look for that, because I hate the fact that I'm buying the books in like... So you can see there, this is number 3. This is the only one they had. And I asked them about the others, but I haven't heard anything yet. So hopefully they can give it to me, because I'm not going to start with book number 3. I feel like that would be quite silly. Alright, there we go. And we already wore my books, Akko, so I can't comment, and I wouldn't know how good their books are. If you like reading, and you like fantasy, I would absolutely suggest reading it. Miss Channels, or anyone that does it? Really? Huh. I wonder why. The books are phenomenal. Like, just doing a proper breakdown of the books is phenomenal. Because these books are incredible. I guess it's just a case of, you know, probably people like Luton, for example, cover specific aspects of the lore, and they will use all of the books in covering that specific aspect of the lore. So maybe no one has ever thought that it's important. They're normally sort of encompassed in the lore channels. Yeah, you just take all of the books that proves the point. But I think, like, a proper synopsis, you know, for people that don't want to read the book, but still want to know what the lore of the book is, I think could be really cool. is definitely a niche. I mean, it's always going to be a niche, right? Chesna, how you doing? Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Happy Friday to you. Basically, a lot of the details get removed to sum up the big happenings by sadly leaving behind some of the smaller stuff. That's what I would like focus on is, you know, building a synopsis that encompasses the new and like the big and small stuff. It's going to be a massive undertaking because I'm obviously going to have to reread all of the books and then make the notes and, you know, sort of get that shit up and running. But it is something that I'm passionate enough about that I would actually do it. You know, I would actually not mind doing a breakdown of every single one of the books that I read. Or just, even if it's just discussions about the books, that would probably be good as well. You just get Audible, it reads the books for you, easy problem solved. I don't know how people do audiobooks. I have now tried about 4 or 5 times to listen to the first Horus Rising book because I can't find the physical book. I only have it on audiobook. I can't get into it. I can't do audiobooks. It's so distracting. It's so difficult to focus because every single time I get to listening it, my mind starts wandering off. And before I know it, I've missed entire chapters of the book, and I'm just like, what the hell did I just listen to? And then I have to try and get back into it, and it doesn't really work. So it's just sort of like this. I don't like audiobooks. I prefer sitting down and reading, because when you read, that's all there is, right? You're not listening to anything else. Nothing's really distracting you. It's just you and the book. How do you submit a question to the Q&A? Okay, so the Dark Lord, you head over to Discord, right? And in Discord, you will find that there is a channel called Q&A channel. And you literally just write your question there. And then just right after your question, just say whether or not you want to jump into voice to ask your question physically, or if you would just like Morning to ask your question on your behalf. Either one is fine. I prefer if people jump in the voice channel because then I can actually have a conversation. But I know some people don't want to be in voice, and that's perfectly fine as well. But yeah, that's how you do that. And you guys have to get your questions in now because we have 15 minutes left. Time Bandit, how you doing, fam? How's it going? Just came from Annie's stream. She's playing Hogwarts Legacy. Oh yeah, I wish I could play Hogwarts Legacy now, but we have the Q&A. And then I have the Patreon podcast. Maybe after that I will. And he secretly hates my voice. I mean, what? Until I get hit by a car? Jesus. That's dark, bro. Like, why would you even... What? Fuck, you know. What a dark thing to say. That's rough, bro. I was just doing an audiobook before you started streaming, and yeah, I can't do it at home, but right now I'm on a walk, and audiobooks are perfect for that, at least for me. See, I don't walk much. South Africa isn't really walk-friendly. Like, you can't really walk. Our cities weren't built for pedestrians. It's a driving city. The cities have pavements, so it's not like you have to walk in the street or anything, but things are far, far, far away. Like, everything is far away. If you were to walk to the shop now, it'd probably take you an hour just to get to the shop, and then, you know, you have to fucking make your way back. It would be a massive time waste. So it's easier to just get in your car and go there. Plus, you could get robbed. Although Cape Town is a little bit safer there, Foul Smoke. I don't hear of much crime here in Cape Town, to be honest. I've not heard of a single person being broken into, having their car stolen or anything like that. So it seems like it's a lot safer, at least. Get to your channel on Discord. Wait, why, Dark Lord? Just click that link, Dark Lord. Yeah, screw Joburg, bro. Joburg is just the worst city in South Africa by far. By far. Hate that fucking place with everything in me. I hate that place. I hope that worked for you, the Dark Lord. You can't join the stream tunnel until I pull you in. Just sit in the Q&A lobby. Oh yeah. You can if you want to ask your question in person. Now you can jump into the Q&A lobby already and just chill there with as soon as other people start joining. I hate diabetes, hypoglycemia. It feels like you're using your last couple of percentage of energy and your whole body's screaming for carbohydrates, so you just start eating everything you can get your hands on. Isn't that bad for you though if you have diabetes? Time Bandit, take care of yourself, fam. Thank you so much for saying hello, man. Really appreciate that. How do you get the icon for Prime Gaming? You can change your own icon, I think, in chat, although I'm not entirely sure how that works. Sinful Ways, how you doing? There's no echo, just a simple walk to your grocery store in South Africa. It takes an hour to walk each way. There is a way, King Julian. Of course there is a way. If you live in Pretoria or Joburg, it could take as long as 2 hours. If you live in the suburbs. Bro, believe me, South Africa is very large. The cities are very large. Yeah, it could take you that long easy. You have no idea, bro. The what you click is next to where you type. It says chat identity. All right, there you go. You should be able to just change it there. Patlin, how you doing? I would say, I mean, in terms of size, like South Africa is bigger than Texas, I'm pretty sure. We could check. We could check. South Africa is approximately 1.2 million square kilometers. Texas is approximately 678,000 square kilometers, making Texas about half the size of South Africa. So South Africa is larger than Texas. And the cities might not house as many people, but you have to also understand the way that cities are built in South Africa. Houses have gardens. Houses are not built like one after the other, fucking built on top of each other. We don't really build up a lot in South Africa unless you live in Joburg, which they'll do the high rises and stuff like that. But mostly in South Africa, we build horizontally, not vertically. There's no point. People love to live on the ground floor, and they love gardens. Love gardens. I think the only time you'll find apartments that sort of built vertically would be student housing most of the time. Student housing or flats. Cape Town is starting to do it now as well because it's running out of space. It's just there's so many people moving here that they don't have enough space, so they're building high rises as well. But it is still rare. For those of you wondering what we're up to, we're basically just waiting for people to filter in. We're starting the Q&A in 9 minutes from now. So if you're interested in that, now would be the time to ask your question or go grab some coffee, because in 9 minutes we start. And if you miss it, you miss it. Here for the longest time, you could not build up because there was a stupid law that church towers had to be distinguishable in the city skyline. Alton, wait, really? Where's here? Sweden, right? You're from Sweden or Norway. Seems like anytime they build a high-rise or apartment block upwards, it leads to a natural disaster, bringing it downward. That's dark. Fuck. To be fair, I don't know how good it is for people to live so close to each other and so on top of each other. I don't think that's good for our mental health. It feels like just there's too many people in your immediate surroundings and you don't have privacy at all. And that could just drive people nuts. I feel like you need somewhere that's just yours, that doesn't belong to anyone else, and that you can escape from the world without, being so close to other people that you can hear them sleep or walk around or whatever. New Yorkers are so angry. Probably. I live out in the country, away from people. Oh man, a part of me would love to live out in the country because I kind of like the peace and quiet of it all, but then at the same time, there's no internet out in the country. So that would be a massive problem for me. That's part of the reason Australians are so relaxed. We have so much space. Most places we live on land with front yards, backyards, and the city is only 20 minutes away. Starlink isn't available in South Africa. Plus, it is my understanding that Starlink is incredibly expensive if you want to get a line that is like properly set up so that it can actually stream and make videos and stuff. So I wouldn't hold my breath for Starlink, and I probably wouldn't get it. I don't like Wi-Fi. As many problems as I have now with my internet, I had more when I was on wireless. It's great amount of embers on Moose. Shit. Yeah, well, the rest of you live in first world nations where, you guys already have shit. Starlink is what, the Elon Musk thing? Yes, it's the Elon Musk thing. Oh, no, it will definitely get cheaper. I mean, that's the whole point of technology, right? Is things get cheaper. We get better at it. Would living in the country in Africa be dangerous? It is dangerous. I believe right now being a farmer in South Africa is the most dangerous job in the world. I kid you fucking not. Like by per capita, more farmers are murdered than any other job in the world. So it is very dangerous. But then again, I think a lot of that is just due to people not being, like, people getting relaxed when they should be focused. Like, my father lives out in the country. He lives on a farm, and I mean, they're incredibly sort of alert of what's going on. He has cameras all around the house, metal fencing in front of the windows, in front of the doors, alarm systems, and they keep everything locked. Because a lot of the time what happens is people keep their doors open because they think they live on the farm, and then the people just sort of wander in, and start killing. What do you call a priest on a horse? I don't know. Wise gesture. What do you call a priest on a horse? Thanks for the first time chat, by the way. A disc jockey? I don't get it. Wait, you mean like a WoW priest? I was thinking real life priest? Like, I genuinely thought real life priest, and I'm like, wait, what? What the fuck does a disc jockey have to do with this? All right, you own me there. I'll give that to you, Wise Jester. We got the disc, so WoW we have... Yeah, I know exactly where it comes from in WoW. Don't worry, Wise Jester. But for some reason, my mind literally just went to real-life priests, and I was like, how does disc factor into this? Is disc short for something else? What could possibly be a disc priest in real life? Yeah, I wasn't thinking WoW related. For some reason, I was not thinking WoW related, even though we're in the WoW in the World of Warcraft category, and this is gonna be a WoW Q&A. So good joke, Wise Jester. You lived up to your name. I like that. In the WoW category, you're just chatting. My bad. No, bro. Why would that be your bad? You made a joke that was relevant to the channel that we were in. I failed on that, so it is my fault. If this priest, not in this country, and I love me some WoW, I'm in love with WoW at the minute. I've fallen back in love with it since Dragonflight, and I genuinely cannot understand why there's so many people that dislike it. Why there's so many people that call this the most boring expansion ever. It makes no sense to me. Why? It has everything you could want. The only thing I think people can realistically complain about now in World of Warcraft would be Mythic Plus, and I see a lot of people actually complaining about that. I do see a lot of people complaining about Mythic Plus, and that the affixes are really boring at times, and not in, like, the affixes can actually destroy your Mythic Plus enjoyment. Like, apparently the one that's on this week, or that was on last week, was just terrible. So most people didn't want to play the Mythic Pluses because the affixes were just horrible for healers or some shit. Now, to be fair, I'm not entirely sure if that's a good thing. Mythhammer, 5 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're far too kind, sir. Well, it was a pain, but manageable. Yeah, but I do think they can do more. I think they can change the Mythic Plus system. I don't think affixes... I'll be honest with you. I don't do a lot of Mythic Plus, but I do hate the Mythic affix system. Because it doesn't feel like it's doing what it was intended to do in most cases. So when you get something like... what's the affix again? I played with that one, I think. Like, the last time I did High Keys, which was probably back in Shadowlands or some shit. But it's the one that gives the bosses, like, crazy amounts of health. What's that? Is it Tyrannical? Which one is that? Where the bosses just have, like, the most health you could ever fucking see. Is it Tyrannical or is it Bolstering? Isn't Bolstering the one with the... Bolstering is the one with the ads. Where the ads in the dungeon gets bolstered. Not the bosses. Tyrannical. Yeah. Why? It literally doesn't change the way you play at all. It just makes the bosses take twice as fucking long to kill. And that, quite honestly, makes no sense. Like, why would that be a thing? I get if you were to add something that gives the bosses an extra ability, right? That now the bosses have another ability that they use that makes the fight more intricate, or maybe destroys the bog standard sort of approach to it. That I could get, and that I think could be really interesting and fun. But to just give a boss more HP, I don't know if that really does anything, if I'm honest. Not sure though. Of course, how would I know? I'm not the perfect person to ask about stuff like this, but whatever. All right, Moni, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I can't complain. Can you quickly just speak again so I make sure the levels are fine?
Oh, yeah. Hey, can you hear me out pretty good?
Yeah. Okay, levels are good. Should be fine for everyone else as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get into the Q&A. Remember, if you have any questions for us, you drop them in the Q&A section on Discord, and then you jump into the voice channel, and we will pull you up so that your question can be answered. And of course, if you don't have any questions, then, hey, just enjoy the show. I really hope that you'll enjoy it. All right, Moni, let's start with the first question. Who's first?
All right. Up first, we've got Digit Merc. I'm pulling them up now.
Oh, here we go. The Germans. The Germans are coming. Digit, how you doing, fam?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
That's good. How are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for asking. How are you, man?
Same here, same here. Friday is good.
Friday is always good. Digit, what is your question, man?
Well, since I've been talking sometime about power levels,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think like the power levels that be shown from one sources to another one, and at first they represent like very strong, and the end they just get dismantled easily,
Wait. What power sources?
So you have like how you would say you have your comics version and then you have your movies version,
Yeah. Okay. Are you talking? Are we talking about WoW here, or are we talking about?
Well, even in WoW now they have like they represent like all the strong titans like Zawal, Sageras, and what we get it was like completely different. It's like they get easily dismantled,
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. I get what he's asking. What's the difference on power level that's shown out of like in game versus outside of the game? So, like
Yeah.
with WoW, for example, the whole argument that you and I have had a lot about the jailer being Titan plus plus and it just feeling like it wasn't really there when Ian kept saying it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, some sort of like this, yeah.
Okay, so for this we have to first, I think, let's just establish. Very often, yes, for the sake of gameplay, Blizzard will sort of subvert lore in a way. So the lore might suggest that something is just stupidly powerful, but then, we need to be able to kill this thing. So Blizzard might just sort of downgrade it a little in terms of. So a good example would be Titans. A Titan, clearly Sargeras have done this, can carve an entire planet in half. And this doesn't seem to be something that just Sargeras can do. All Titans should technically have that ability. But then, of course, when we fight Argus, for example, he's clearly not big enough to carve a planet in half. He's tall and he's bigger than us, but he's not that big. And also, if he could carve a planet in half, then he could literally just carve the Pantheon in half and kill all of us alongside with it, right? So clearly that is a thing, and therefore Blizzard sort of doesn't stay necessarily absolutely true to the lore, but usually Blizzard they're very good at finding sort of reasoning behind how this is happening, and I feel like, especially if we're talking Shadowlands, Blizzard kind of dropped the ball there at explaining to the player base why we were able to defeat Zuval, who was considered to be Titan plus plus. He was supposed to be so much stronger than even Argus. But in all previous encounters, Blizzard did a fairly decent job of explaining exactly how we ended up surviving. The best example you'll ever have of this would be the fight against Arthas. So the fight against Arthas in game
Yeah.
and in lore is actually two different things. So in the game, we get Arthas down to about 10% HP, and then Arthas kills all of us with a single blast. And then, of
Agreed,
course, is the light from Tyrion Fordring, that basically destroys the sword, and then we can take down Arthas once Arthas has been subdued. Now, that's in the game, how that happened. In the lore, we didn't get Arthas down to 90%. In fact, in the lore, it was a pretty easy fight. Arthas basically just killed all of us. That's the actual, that's how it actually played out. Is Arthas just smacked us around a bit, tasted us a little bit, because he wanted to make sure that we're actually strong enough to become his champions. And then when he was convinced that, okay, we are strong enough, he just killed us and, wanted to raise us. And then, of course, Tyrion Fordring stepped in and broke Frostmourne and put an end to it. So we owe that victory to Tyrion Fordring and no one else. We are not responsible for that victory. We were just there to be tested. Arthas didn't break a sweat in that fight. Now, in Argus, again, something that some players missed, but it was there, and it was very clearly there. We were blessed by the other Titans, and there's also a chance that the other Titans, while they wouldn't directly fight one of their own, which we know that they have always had a problem with, they don't want to fight one of their own. So while not directly willing to fight him, they were willing to weaken him enough so that we could actually, stay in the fight and we could actually eventually beat him. And we also know that we were even helped by not allowing death to claim us during that fight by the Titans themselves. So this is where the Blizzard sort of bridges the gap between lore power levels and gameplay power levels by basically giving us blessings. Shadowlands Blizzard kind of dropped the ball, and the reason for it is none of the actual help that we received was obviously present within the final fight. There wasn't that massive moment where Tyrion Fordring is begging the light to grant him one final burst of power. There wasn't the Titans clearly blessing us in that fight. But what a lot of players miss is that we went into that fight backed by a full covenant of death and all of its might, right? We had all of the conduits. We had a soul bind from there. We had blessings from there, as well as legendary items from the Primus. So we were not going in there as mere mortals. We were very much empowered by the covenant that we chose, and probably by the other covenants as well. I'm not entirely sure what the lore suggests, what everything was that powered us, but there's a good chance that all of the covenants at that point were just basically streaming their power into us to make us powerful enough to actually take down Zuval.
So that probably also got some help from the brokers that took up shop in Zereth Mortis, for all we know.
Yeah, they most likely had a hand in this as well. So at the end of the day, that's sort of how Blizzard tends to bridge the gap between lore levels of power and in-game levels of power, because realistically speaking, we wouldn't be able to defeat any of the forces that we have gone up against in World of Warcraft by ourselves. You're talking about god-level beings, right? Let's go back to the first big boss that people faced. Cthulhu, right? Cthulhu was an old god. A god. And we faced it, right? And we managed to kill it. By all accounts, we and we alone would not have been able to defeat Cthulhu. If it wasn't for the help of outside forces, we could not do it. We needed the power of our allies, of our champions. Now, in some fights, like for example, the fight against the Jara, we have the help of who's the two characters in there? It's Lorthamar and Jaina. Lorthamar and Jaina, I believe. Yeah. Lorthamar and Jaina. They're in there, and they actually help. In the lore, it is mainly their fight. We're just backing them up. Now, gameplay, obviously, Blizzard doesn't do it that way. In the gameplay, Blizzard will sort of take them usually out of the fight so that we can do the fight, but the fact that they're there suggests that it was their fight, and we were just backing them up. We were basically providing cannon fodder while they were the ones who took the fight to Ajara and ultimately managed to subdue or, defeat Ajara, if that makes sense. I hope that answers your question, Digit, unless, of course, you had a different question that you were actually asking and I completely misunderstood.
Yes, it's good. And now since we are on that...
Yeah.
If you follow the pattern now from Dragonflight and onwards now, they have this this build up, the next phases now, you have this elementals, primalists, dragons aspects,
Yeah.
and then over top comes like the elemental lords should be coming back, then the elder dragons, and then the old gods, and perhaps the Galacrond. It's like huge power levels again now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And out of whole thing now, what would be your most disappointing moment, if you can say?
Most disappointing moment would be, at least for me, if we took care of the Primal Incarnates in a single expansion. I think the Primal Incarnates it's an incredibly interesting enemy. Just because,
Yeah,
they have their own goals, obviously, and their goals are, I think, just marred in secrecy enough to keep it very interesting. Right now, the only thing they've really revealed to us is that they stand against the Titans, right? That's their main thing. They don't like the Titans. But we don't really know why. None of them have actually told us why they don't like the Titans. We also now, Blizzard have done a great job of sort of sprinkling things out there for us to find. And another one of the sprinkles is that Iridicron, he made a lot of deals. Again, nothing known about the deals that he made, just that there was deals that was cut, and sort of the deals became exponentially worse as time went on, and that not even the other Primal Incarnates really probably know about the deals that he made, but that he is the most powerful. And this is where my perfect sort of ending to this expansion would be, in the final one, we take care of the two, I don't want to call them lesser Primal Incarnates, but let's just, for now, for the sake of expediency, let's call it the lesser Primal Incarnates. We take them down, and then Iridicron goes on to the next expansion. And then maybe, at the end of the expansion, Iridicron manages to make a deal to actually bring back Galacrond. Because we know he likes deals. So he strikes a deal and he brings back Galacrond. Galacrond comes back, and Galacrond becomes a major threat, not for 11.3 or 11.2, but actually for 12.2 or even like 13.2. So Galacrond becomes this new big bad. Allow things to breathe and allow things to play out, and I think there's enough there. The other thing that would really disappoint me at the moment, if we even pull it back a little, not from like major characters, but from like just more mortal characters, the Joradin. If we found like no real information about the Joradin, and the Joradin wasn't like super dived into in depth, I think that would really disappoint me. Because the Joradin may be the most interesting thing that has been added to World of Warcraft in years. There's so much about them. They're these very ancient beings, right, that clearly come from the Fire Realm, but they look like mortals. They're not mortals, but they look like mortals. And they hate the dragons, not just the aspects, all dragons. But right now, they hate the aspects most of all. So they're willing to strike bargains with the incarnates in order to defeat the aspects. But then once the aspects are defeated, they will then defeat all of the primal incarnates. So they hate dragons. Why? Why would the elemental lords hate dragons? Since clearly, at least just a very rudimentary read of what information we have of them, suggests that they were created within the bowels of the fire elemental realms. So they clearly serve the fire elementals and the fire element, as it were. So why does the elements hate the dragons? Even though we know that the dragons too were born inside the elemental realms. So what's with this hatred? Why? This is stuff that I genuinely want to see answered.
I'd also like to know personally what's with them being seemingly from the realm of fire, but also having control over Earth. Because I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe lore-wise, the the Earth and the Earth Queen, can't blanket on her name, had never really been a fan of Ragnaros.
They're not fans of each other.
Yeah, that's what I
Remember,
thought.
they again, very much like the cosmological forces, are built to oppose one another, and in that opposition, they create balance within the universe, or at least on Azeroth. So they're not really friends with each other. They'll stand together, but it might be that the Jordan was created as as sort of an answer to dragon kind. So it might be that all of them came together and sort of blessed maybe these beings. So there is a chance that the Jordan wasn't even born inside any of these realms. So they came about naturally, or perhaps were created by titans, or were created by something else. Then the elemental lords came in, blessed them with their power, and basically turned them into their warriors against dragonkind and against whatever titans had done. So something to that regard could also be true. Or it might just be that they just learned how to use the elemental magics and they have their own idea of what they want to do. We don't really know what that answer is right now, but to answer your question, Digitmath, that's what I would like to see most. Those two things, at least.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
All right.
Sounds very interesting. Yeah.
Very. Absolutely. Was that all of your
Because-
questions, Digit, or did you have more?
Yeah. It's especially just I realized with the Warcraft phase now,
Uh-huh.
similar to the how the MCU would work currently with the phase. They have currently like the big guys already shown up,
Yeah.
and same with World of Warcraft now. Well, I hope it will be not less worse again. Hope it will be
No, I think
prosper again.
Blizzard have learned their lesson, Digit. I think you can see it in everything that Dragonflight is and everything that Dragonflight is doing. Blizzard clearly they understand what mistakes they've made in the past, and they don't
Agreed.
seem to be willing to go back to that. So
Totally.
yeah, I would say we're probably fine. As things stand, I think we're probably fine, at least for now. It all depends on if Blizzard gets antsy, if Blizzard gets desperate, because obviously it was always going to be that Blizzard was going to lose some players with this new direction, because there were players that genuinely enjoyed the old sort of, just get a list of shit to do every day and it keeps you busy every day. There were people that love that. And now that that's gone, they feel lost. They feel like there's nothing for them to do in WoW because they don't know how to make their own fun out of the game. And obviously those players were there, but they were a very big or a very small minority that just sort of enjoyed the game for what it was, and definitely not enough for Blizzard to build an entire franchise on. So those players were going to get lost, and it is going to take long. I've met people in my comment section even now that said that, WoW looks promising, but they'll give it another patch or two before they finally decide if they're going to come back, because they've been burnt so many times before that now they're just sort of like, I'll wait. And I hope that Blizzard keeps that in mind. There is still a lot of players on the sidelines waiting to jump in. They're not just ready yet, but they will get there. And Blizzard just needs to stick to this. They just need to keep doing what they're doing now, and they'll get there, I think.
I absolutely love the more open play style. Just like you said, they've, from a design perspective, not just a story perspective, because the story with Shadowlands had like its ups and downs. It wasn't all too bad, really. I mean, I I slam it a lot just because it's easy to poke fun at something that obviously failed.
Yeah.
But it still had great points to it. And
Oh, yeah.
what I can say about Dragonflight is I have yet to see a very big negative that makes me go, oh, there's the regular WoW that we've come to expect.
Yeah.
Like, go with something as simple as the massive profession rehaul. It is so intricate for something that honestly most people write off after the second raid gets introduced.
Yeah. True. Very true. No, I absolutely agree with you there. 100%. Digit, by the way, thanks for the question, man. Really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you too.
Yeah, and then just on that point, I just wanted to say, Moni, on the point that you just made, the problem with Shadowlands wasn't that it didn't have interesting stories. I'm right there with you. I
Agreed.
was very excited for the story of Shadowlands. I thought the story of
Same here.
Shadowlands was looking like a great story to start off with. And then what ended up happening was we had all of this setup, all of this, oh my god, who's the Primus? What's happening in the Shadowlands? Why is everything broken? Who broke the Arbiter? What exactly is the Jailer after? Sylvanas told us right at the end there that, when next you see me, you will understand. So there was that whole mystery moment or thing brewing with Sylvanas that we all sort of looked forward to and really wanted to know what's going on here. I mean, it's as if it all just sort of fizzled down to, oh, whatever. Sylvanas, actually, you wouldn't understand when next you see her. She doesn't have any, deeper thing to her. The things that we were told, Ian, for example, saying, look, you have to understand, Sylvanas isn't just Garrosh. She's not just going to turn around and apologize, it ended up being exactly that, right? She just turned around and sort of apologized. It ended up being this. Well, not that Garrosh apologized. Ian's specific words or his exact words were, she's not like Garrosh. She's not going to be cornered and fight and imprisoned and stuff like this. She wouldn't allow that to happen. And in the end, that's exactly what she allowed to happen. So a lot of story was there and there was a lot of potential for story to be there, but it just felt like eventually they kind of forgot that was the story that we kind of, that there was a story that was promised and that story was just given up on. But from from an objective perspective, there was a lot of potential in the story of Shadowlands that just never really came to fruition. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest letdowns was just story-wise, the whole concept of the sigils of the covenants, because they initially when Zuval is gathering them, we meet up back in the Arbiter's hall, and the Winter Queen explains when the covenants were first made, the first ones gave them these sigils that supposedly represent their right to function as a covenant in the Shadowlands. So they're a badge of office and a key in one. Yeah. And then as Duval is collecting them, when we free the Primus, he's just like, oh, well, we'll just remake our sigils. And I'm like, well, what? That's very anticlimactic. We'll just make the spare keys.
But I think that's exactly what proved the point, right? We said from the beginning, on this channel specifically, I told you what the expansion was gonna look like. Because we had leaks from within Blizzard on what the exact expansions were gonna look like. I told you what the exact patch cycle was gonna be like. And then when the first patch came out, I told you that it was cut and that this was thrown together because they didn't have enough time. Now, I think when you look at when you look at Preach's interviews with Blizzard, you sort of learn why. Blizzard didn't want to make Shadowlands when they were making Shadowlands. You see, they started making Shadowlands even before Battle for Azeroth came out. They were already working on Shadowlands. And they were so deep into development on Shadowlands that when Battle for Azeroth came out and it was clear that it had now failed, there wasn't enough time for them to shift. They couldn't then suddenly turn around and say, well, okay, we're not going to do this. Let's just go a different direction. Most of the systems were already built, and it was time to start finishing it. So what ended up happening is Blizzard was forced to work on this expansion that they didn't want to work on. Not anymore, because they realized that they were building an expansion that was about to fail. I genuinely, go back and listen to Preach's interview with Blizzard Entertainment. Listen to when he speaks to Ian. Listen to what Ian says there, and it starts making perfect sense. They knew. Like, imagine how that should feel, right? You are making this expansion, and every single person that's working on it knows that you are about to put out an expansion that will fail. Because everything that people have been complaining about in Battle for Azeroth is still there in Shadowlands and sort of dialed up. But it's too late. You can't turn away now. You can't turn it out. You can't turn it back. You can't do anything. You just have to sort of stick with it, because these are the systems that you came up with from the beginning. And without these systems, it's just not going to work. So I think they gave up.
Oh.
Right? I think they gave up and they just went like, sure, there's a lot more story here and there's a lot more patches that we wanted to bring out, but can we really afford to spend this much time on patch cycles and things when we know that it's not going to save anything? We know that this expansion isn't going to be brought back from the brink of death. We just have to get going and get Dragonflight out there and make sure that Dragonflight is working as it's intended to work. And that cut content does shine through, right? It shows that content was cut. And at the end of the day, that's just how it rolls. I think that's what makes it difficult to have a game that you're bringing out every 2 years. You have basically this entire pipeline, like this content pipeline that you're working on. And that means that if you fail in the current moment, you're fucked at least for the next 4 years. Because you couldn't foresee that what you were making was going to fail, right? You just realized that, oh shit, this had failed. But you can't just turn around now. There's a content pipeline here. It's already done. You have to let that pipeline clean itself out and then just start pumping in new things on this end and hope that people stick around long enough to get to the new things that you've actually fixed. And here we are in Dragonflight, and I can say it was worth the wait. Sorry, Morny, I kept interrupting you there.
Oh, no. You're absolutely right. It was definitely worth the wait. Yeah, put in that light, Shadowlands makes a lot of sense. Like, they really fell flat on the big points they wanted to make. The connective tissue, though, was phenomenal. Like, if you go into individual questing zones, especially whoever the heck is in charge of doing Ysera's storyline, just knows what to do, because God, from
it's so good.
Legion to Shadowlands, and I haven't done the part for her in Dragonflight yet. I'm grinding my ass off to get to it.
Bro, the Dragonfly one is the one. The Dragonflight one is the one. It is fucking phenomenal.
I'm so looking forward to it.
I have a video coming about that, by the way. A huge video.
Sweet.
Because Ysera, her story, I think it's like a lot of people looking at the Ysera storyline and they're thinking to themselves, oh, what the hell? I'm going to spoil it a little here because most people already know how to play it out, right?
Spoilers don't bother me.
All right. Ysera is brought back, right? As everyone knows, Malfurion is sacrificed. Ysera comes back. And then Ysera just says, well, I've changed so much, I can no longer be the aspect. And so Marithra, her daughter, will now be the aspect of the Green Dragonflight. And everyone's sort of going, what the hell's the point? You bring her back and now she's no longer the thing? Ah, fuck. Ysera, her story isn't over. Her story
Oh no!
has
I
barely
mean, we haven't
begun.
even touched by what happened to her when the Winter Queen gave
Oh, yeah.
personally of her anima. Like this is an eternal one, something made
Mhm.
in Zereth Mortis, specifically gave of herself to bring Ysera back. Like I think people don't realize the importance of who the anima came from in that quest line.
You're
It
close.
wasn't just
You're close. I'm not gonna give away the plot of my next video, but here's what
No
I will
problem.
say. Here's what I will say. Take what you just said there, right? The Winter Queen, she's the one that infused her own anima into Ysera. Then take the words of the Winter Queen. This is my sister's pet. Right? This is of my sister. Her sister's pet. Ysera comes back, she's changed. She's changed so much that she can no longer be the green dragon aspect. She is now inside the dream, which, even in Dragonflight, they take the tear into the dream so that Elune can watch over it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, and she's not just part of the dream now. She's part of the backside of it, of Ardenwell.
She's part of the entire cycle.
Yep.
That's all I'll say about that.
I'll stop so I don't tease anything else out of you. I'll pull a Shamagi up. They're the next one.
Cool. Ace, how you doing, fam? Ace, can you hear us? There we go. Ace, can you hear us? I don't think Ace can
I know
hear
they
us.
were having some trouble because they were on their phone. I had asked them to write their question in the Q&A channel. I just haven't seen it yet. I'll pop them back down and we'll switch it for Ace-01. We got a lot of aces in this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of aces. Remember, guys, if you have questions, jump into the Q&A lobby to ask your question so we can have a discussion about it as well, if you want to discuss it. Ace-01, how you doing, fam?
Doing great, Echo. How are you, man?
I am very good. Thank you so much for asking. What is your question?
How you feeling?
Sorry?
No, I just wanted to ask how you feeling after all that stuff.
How I'm feeling about what?
No, how you feeling? Because I remember you said you were sick.
Oh, right. Oh, no. Very good now. Yeah, I had a stomach flu. Like, it was fucking touch and go, bro. Like, I was genuinely praying for death. I was going, look, just take me now. This is not, life isn't worth living. I don't want to live like this anymore. And
Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, I can't do this. I was very ill. But it's gone now. It's all good now.
All right, well, that sounds good. By the way, the other Ace guy, we were talking, and he had to go get his daughter real quick. That's why he's not on the.
Okay.
Okay,
that
makes
sense.
sense. Okay, that makes sense.
So my question was a Warhammer question.
Okay.
It was about it's basically saying is there another Primarch besides Gilliman that you're interested to learn about, maybe that you wanted to learn about? And then there's another question that I have that says, have you thought of any other books that you would get after you finish the Dark Imperium trilogy?
All right. So other Primarchs. Okay, so I'm a loyalist through and through. Like, to my core, I'm a loyalist. So my favorite is Gilliman, but I have a feeling that Lionel Johnson is just waiting in the wings, and he's about to shoot up to like my absolute favorite.
The funny thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Continue.
Go, man.
No, because the funny thing is, I think you will like Lionel Johnson. For me, he's like the only loyalist Primarch that I like. Every other Primarch that I like is traitor. So you might hate me a little bit, but
I mean, it's all good. Are you a fan of Angron, the new Angron stuff that's come out?
Oh yeah, I love Angron. So on Audible, but I think you could find it in books. Each GW is actually trying to have Primarchs have their own Primarch books. So Gilliman has his own Primarch book. Yeah. And Angron's Primarch book is actually one of the best ones, and it actually fleshes out his Legion and the Primarch, and you kind of feel for him in a way. You
Yeah.
kind of because all the Primarchs have like a certain type of intellect. Like all the Primarchs are intelligent in their own way, right?
Yeah.
So Angron, even with the nails in his head, he still has that intelligence, and he's actually the one that has the best reason of betraying the Emperor and the Imperium because he sees the Imperium for what it is, you know. So he to me, if you I would say in my personal opinion, if you wanted to start maybe like learning about Primarchs, go to their Primarch book, which
Yeah.
fleshes out sometimes their Legion and sometimes their Primarch.
Oh yeah, I mean, so the Angron has always been an interesting Primarch to me, just because his story is pretty tragic, literally from the start. You know,
Absolutely.
he's got a very tragic story, and you could see from a mile away that this guy was gonna betray the Emperor, like no questions asked,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, he even killed the custodian.
yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Angron is you look at Angron, you go, right, this guy's so fucking angry. The betrayal is just an easy, it's gonna happen. And then you go look at all of the Chaos Gods and you go, I wonder which of these Chaos Gods would probably appeal to Angron most. And you go, oh, Khorne, yeah, this seems like a match made in heaven. This seems like it was built for each other, you know?
Absolutely.
So I feel like, if I were to get into traitor Primarchs, which I don't think I would, but if I were to, Angron would probably be one of my favorites. At the end of the day, though, it is like, bro, Emperor protects. I am a huge loyalist.
Absolutely. No, I understand it completely. I love, like, Lionel Johnson is really one of my most favorite, like second favorite Primarch in period, point blank. First is, of course, Alfarius of the Alpha Legion.
But wait. Are you now assuming that Alfarius is loyalist?
He is both a loyalist and also a loyalist, and also more loyalist. Yes, absolutely.
It's his brother you gotta watch out for.
Yeah, it's his brother you gotta watch out for.
Yeah, but there's even fucking even his brother is like question mark.
Don't worry about all that, man. It's all part of a plan.
Oh,
he's still a loyalist. Out of the end of the day, he's still loyal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure his brother's dead. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, his brother is dead.
Oh my god,
it's really funny. If you read the Alfarius book, you're gonna be so confused at the end. But what I was gonna say about Lionel Johnson is that you probably will like him because he commands so much respect. There's actually a Reddit thread that somebody made about him that he is basically they did like different excerpts, and even his own brothers talked about him like he's basically like he moves like an apex predator in disguise as like a noble man. I think there was one time where he went onto Horus's flagship, and Lionel Johnson was so pissed at Horus, so mad at him, that he caused all of the Astartes from different legions to kneel.
What the fuck?
Like, he forced them to kneel.
Was this before Horus became
Yeah, this was before Horus became, because what he did was he used parts of Lionel Johnson's legion without Lionel Johnson knowing. So when Lionel Johnson found out, he walked in and there was like the Death Guard, there was the regular, his own legion, the Dark Angels, and then of course Horus's legion was also in there.
Yeah.
So just like when they were trying to do like a procession, Horus was on his throne chair. All the other legions were like surrounding Horus, so they were waiting for Lionel Johnson to walk through. And when he came in, he caused everybody to just kneel. And people weren't like, the Astartes weren't even trying to look at Lionel Johnson because they said that if they were to look at him, it would be like to be caught in the eyes of an apex predator. So Lionel Johnson is a beast,
dude. And there's rumors that he's the next one coming back.
Yeah, there is rumors that he is in it because I think there's this new there's a new chaos entity who's not aligned to any of the 4 chaos gods. His name
Vashtor.
Is Vashtor, and I think he was spotted trying to be on the Dark Angel's flagship and trying to he wanted to get something on the Dark Angel. It's not specified, or I haven't learned anything yet, but he's trying to get something on the Dark Angel's flagship. But he's basically like parts of the Imperium, and he's now working with Abaddon to foil the Imperium's plans. So it's being heard that the Rock, which is like the Dark Angel's
their ship.
flagship,
Yeah,
is moving around like the galaxy. Like it's they're wrecking shit, and somebody said they spotted the Lion or something. So Lionel Johnson might make he might make like the biggest comeback. So I'm very interested to see what they do with
the
Lionel
Imperium
Johnson.
just needs him, because from what I've heard, Angron is on a fucking tear right now. He is just wrecking the Imperium. Apparently in the new books, he's going fucking apeshit.
I think I didn't know if he was on Armageddon or if he's in like just flying around the Imperium. But I mean, Fulgrim is back too. Fulgrim is being spotted around the galaxy. Magnus is being spotted around the galaxy, and of course I don't know what book you're on for the Dark Imperium. Are you on the second book?
I'm literally about to finish the second book. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, then Mortarion, he's in Ultramar. So
yep. Mortarion, I fucking hate that guy with everything in me, just by the way. He's a little pussy.
Honestly,
he's probably the most pussy Primarch out there.
I'm a huge Nurgle fan and a huge Death Guard fan too, for some reason. I actually own a couple models.
Yeah, but my problem... Okay, so here's my problem with Mortarion, okay? He has this captain. What's the captain's name again?
Typhus.
Typhus,
that's the one. That is just the most insubordinate cunt on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
And yet Mortarion doesn't do anything. Like, he doesn't stop him or kill him. He's just sort of like, yeah, okay, he questions me the whole time. What am I supposed to do, right? It's not like I'm his boss.
Well, that's the thing. He can't. Mortarion of the Demon Primarchs is very interesting in the sense that most of the Demon Primarchs were chosen or manipulated or made deals to become champions of the Chaos God that raised them up.
Yeah.
That was not what happened to Mortarion. Mm-hmm. From the get-go, Typhus was Nurgle's champion, was Nurgle's herald. And the agreement that Typhus made with Nurgle was to bring those that would become known as the Death Guard and Mortarion into the realm of chaos, into Nurgle's manse. So while Mortarion is his superior and is a demon Primarch, technically Typhus is protected by Nurgle to a point that Mortarion can't do anything about that, because in Nurgle's eyes, his first captain is the true champion of the Death Guard.
So but is Typhus stronger than Mortarion, or is Mortarion still stronger than Typhus?
It's not really specified, I don't think, is it?
I would say just given Mortarion's lineage, the fact that he's a Primarch, so he's literally a son of the Emperor, the fact that he probably has some latent psychic abilities that he didn't like, but he can use now as a demon prince, and the fact that he is a demon prince probably makes him stronger than Typhus, who's just a space marine psyker that is souped up. I know he has the Destroyer Plague, but I think he has one other plague of important housed in his physical body.
Yeah.
I'd still say Mortarion is stronger, but Typhus just has that title of the Herald of Nurgle, and the fact that Nurgle watches over him, that just makes him more threatening, because basically attacking Typhus is attacking Nurgle.
Yeah, well, fuck that.
I mean, even each of the Chaos Gods has a champion besides the Primarch. The Primarch was just like was basically like the end all be all to take the Emperor's plans and twist it. Yeah. But each of the Chaos Gods has their own Astartes champion. So Fulgrim may be, the demon Primarch of Slaanesh, but Lucius is probably what best exemplifies Slaanesh. Karn, the Betrayer, is best what exemplifies the Khorne instead of Angron, because Angron is just raving fuck mad. At least Karn can make coherent words. Angron can't.
What about that new lord that they introduced with the World Eaters? Sorry.
No, it's
if-
fine.
What about the new lore?
Lord. They introduced a new Lord who's on a juggernaut that
Oh,
seems to actually be a lot more. eh, Instead of just being a slavering madman that's just all war, this guy is literally using tactics and is sort of like the Zen warrior monk that people were wanting. Like he's on the opposite spectrum of war as an art instead of just something to be instead of just fighting like mad. You perform basically you perform it as a sacrifice or an like religious offering to corn.
I mean, it sounds. I mean, that to me sounds like something they're trying to make the Chaos Gods seem more like give them a duality, because I mean, everybody had the initial idea that like the
Well,
fucking
they've always had a duality. But
yeah,
sorry,
because
go ahead.
they were always they were tempting. There's actually a Imperial Guard regiment that is aligned to Khorne that is exactly what you're describing. So an entire Imperial Guard regiment that basically they believe in the Emperor's divinity and power, but they just believe that Khorne exemplifies what they want better, and they're more coherent, they're more organized, and they respect the Imperium, but they just want to do combat, and it's just regular combat. There's an entire Imperial Guard regiment basically for
Well,
corn, but
dude,
just not
I mean,
crazy.
fucking heretics. Call the Inquisitor. Like, how dare they? Long live the Emperor. Anyways, just to bring this back a little, Digit, I
Yeah.
see your chat there, and I just wanted to say, is there a difference between power levels between books, novels, and games in the Warhammer 40k universe? From my understanding, and so far from what I've seen, not really. They do a pretty decent job of, even on the tabletop, if something is super stupidly powerful in the lore, it's going to be super stupidly powerful in the tabletop as well. But then it's going to cost like fuck tons of points to even try and get that thing on your table. And you might lose the game long before you've even been able to get that thing on the table, so to speak. Now, obviously in the lore, they're probably able to make it a lot cooler. And in the lore, you could have something that can one-shot things, which obviously isn't going to happen on the tabletop, because what would be the point? You have this thing that can just one-shot an entire army, game over. Thanks for playing. That's not going to be a lot of fun. So there's probably a little bit of gameplay fuckery going on, where they sort of dumb things down or make things a little bit less powerful. But in general, from what I understand, if something is good at something in the lore, it's going to be good at that something in the tabletop as well. With some exceptions, probably. But yeah, I'm not a tabletop player, so I obviously don't know. What I know of tabletop is only the videos that I've watched of people sort of talking about tabletop stuff. But whatever game you're ever going to play, there's always going to be a difference between the lore and the actual game. That's guaranteed. It's always going to be there.
And to kind of bring it full circle, I think that Warhammer, there's counterpoints to it, but Warhammer is doing a good job of making the lore and the rules around like the models represent exactly what they want to say. And I feel like WoW is starting to correct course to meet that point again.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. But I'll definitely get into those books, Ace, because I would like to know more about Lionel Johnson, Angron as well, just because he's got that tragic fucking story. For some reason, I've just always disliked Horus. I don't know why. I've just always thought Horus is a bit of a bitch. Abaddon
he's
too.
one of the traitor Primarchs I don't like.
Yeah. I'll definitely get into it at some point, but for now, The Dark Imperium Has My Heart. That book is just phenomenal.
Yeah, well, no, I was just gonna say, like, after that entire trilogy, do you have any idea of where you wanted to like lead next? Maybe an Inquisitor book, or just another Primarch book, or maybe an Imperial Guard story. I don't know if you have an idea of what direction you maybe want to go in.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I would go straight into the Horus Heresy. But getting the books for the Horus Heresy that isn't audiobook is like, finding a person to just jack you off in the middle of the street whenever you fucking need it, right? It's almost impossible. So instead, I'll probably get into Eisenhorn Omnibus because I have Eisenhorn here. You know, so,
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, I
Yeah.
finished. I actually I finished the Eisenhorn trilogy a couple months ago. It's really good, very
yeah.
good.
I've
I would
heard people
say,
say it's phenomenal.
I know you said you don't like audiobooks, which is really good. The Horus Heresy, certain voice narrators are absolutely terrible. I feel like you'd fall asleep and you'd probably delete your phone in general after you heard, some of these audiobooks. There's certain narrators that are really great, but some of them that they hired to read some of these books on Audible is just, oh my god, I couldn't even finish.
Yeah.
I think it was like 3 books. I think I'm on Horus Heresy book number 14 or 15, but
Yeah.
man, there was like 3 of them that sucked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying my best. I have my, I keep like getting distracted. I can't get. I'm busy with Horus Rising right now, and it is a fucking slow roll, bro. Like I have listened to the where they take is he called Logan? I think it's is it Logan when he gets Loken when he gets sort of made part of the what's it called?
The Mournival.
The Moraval, that's the one. Yes, when they take him to the dam or the lake, and they're standing there in the moon and shit. I've listened to that thing 3 times. As you can tell, I'm struggling to keep anything because I'll get like halfway through that, and then I'll just drift off, and I'll start thinking about something else. 2 chapters later, I'm like, wait, I'm actually, oh shit, I've missed the book.
Exactly.
So then I have to go back
exactly
and have to try and fucking focus.
But
again.
I would say this. If you see an audiobook, if it has the narrator Jonathan Keeble or Andrew, I think it's Andrew Wilcott or Wincott, those two are some of the best narrators that you probably will ever love for anyone, for any book probably, because they put passion into their narration. Some of these people, they don't put any passion, but they if you ever you probably won't listen to any trader books, so never mind.
No, I will. I will listen. I'm eventually going to read every single book there is.
Oh, me too. That's what I want to do. The Night Lords trilogy. The Night Lords trilogy, and I think Morning, have you heard of the Night Lords trilogy?
Yeah, but I tend to stick to a lot more fantasy novels. The first
Morning is a fantasy bitch. He likes fantasy crap.
I love 40K. Don't get me wrong. My favorite novel from them is Belisarius Caul's The Great Work, just because I love the character of Belisarius Caul.
Belisarius Caul is fucking cool.
He is
scary and creepy as fuck, but cool.
No, he's crazy.
Yeah.
He's just crazy. I think he's crazy. But yeah, Night Lords trilogy is one of the best audiobooks also ever, and it goes into depth on the Night Lords. But if you're ever wanting to read, there's also Primarch books. So if you ever like have a particular Primarch that you're interested in, each one is they're trying to make a book for each one.
Yeah.
So it'll be good if you ever do read the Engron, I'd love to hear your review on it.
All right, I will do. People asked me just before the stream if I would ever start like a book club. And I said, yeah, that's one of the plans I have, where I want to do synopses of WoW books and Warhammer books. So basically, every month take a book and do like a series of that book, 4 or 5 videos, doing a complete synopsis of all the lore and all the happenings within that book. For anyone that doesn't give a fuck and they want to read the books, that will give them sort of the story of what the book was all about, what happened in the book, what was the cool stuff in the book. Because I don't know if there's anyone that actually does stuff like that. So that's something that I would love to do, just because I enjoy shit like that. So that is a plan that I have.
I don't see a lot of people covering the books except when they connect to the new battle tomes when they come out. Then they will pull some stuff from the books to like support the theory, or they go into the general lore of something in particular, and they'll go, and then in this book you'll find, and then they just will give a synopsis of the parts that feed into the video they're making. But covering the books in and of themselves, I've never seen.
Yeah. Well, just because I thought someone in chat, Toby Longworth, Mr. Demura, Toby Longworth is also another good narrator. I almost missed him as well. Yeah, because he's the one that actually reads the Eisenhorn trilogy. The Eisenhorn trilogy. So Toby Longworth is a good one.
All right.
Yeah, Alco, keep doing what you're doing. I love your videos, love your streams, love your work,
bro.
Thank
you
very
much.
Take your time with
appreciate
everything.
that.
You guys have a good one. All right.
All right. Take care of yourself,
Thank
fam.
you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. All right. I know Flying Buttress does it, Rose Fox. I was specifically referring to Warhammer, and that there's no one that I know of in the Warhammer universe that does synopses of the books in Warhammer. But I want to do it for World of Warcraft as well, just because. So my idea behind it for World of Warcraft specifically, not so much for Warhammer, because there's almost 400 books in the Warhammer universe, and I don't think you can speculate in Warhammer or in any universe unless you've read all of it. Now, at least with WoW, I have read all of it, right? I've read every single World of Warcraft book. I know the lore of World of Warcraft. So doing a synopsis of those books will allow for speculation to be thrown in during the synopses. So, I can sort of cover the book, but then do speculation on what could be extra or what wasn't written there. So my WoW approach would definitely be different. It would include speculation on what is happening there. The Warhammer stuff, on the other hand, that will just be clean, straight up synopses. But all right, so Morny, who is next?
Let's go with Dark Lord 45. He's one of the new members. He was asking about how to get in here with from Twitch, so I'm gonna pull him up.
All right, Dark Lord, how you doing, fam? Dark Lord, can you hear us?
We do have his question, so I can go ahead and ask it if he's AFK right now. Also, this channel is push to talk, Dark Lord, so...
Is it your birthday, Abaddon? Can I get some happy birthdays in chat? Saving Raven, how you doing? What do you mean, where's your love? I love you, of course I do. I want to see happy birthdays in chat. Come on, chat. Everyone. It's Abaddon's birthday. Let's get that shit going. Come on, show some love here. All right, Dark Lord.
I saw some activity.
I did see some activity. Dark Lord, can you see us? Or can you hear us, rather? I'm not sure if Dark Lord can speak.
Well, to that end, while we're figuring that out, his question is, do you think there's a pantheon for every power in the universe, and why have we not seen ones for disorder, light, life, void, etc.?
I do, actually. Even though we haven't seen them, you have to understand, Dark Lord, that we haven't really explored many of the other cosmological forces. If you think about the chaos, for example, or disorder, not really chaos, but disorder, the demons, all we've seen of the demons is their excursions into our realm. We've never been inside the Twisting Nether. We don't know exactly what the hierarchy of the disorder realms would look like. From what I can guess, the reason we've never seen the pantheons of disorder is because things are happening exactly as they had wanted them to happen. The demons are spreading disorder the way that it needs to be done. They don't care that that Sargeras took control of the demons. As long as the demons keep spreading disorder, they are perfectly happy with that. There's also another option. Okay, so maybe first let's just talk about why there almost has to be a pantheon for each of these. World of Warcraft as a game, the idea of opposites and balance seems to be incredibly important in World of Warcraft. Almost everything in World of Warcraft has a counterpoint, that is supposed to keep it in balance. You can see from both the Chronicles as well as from the Shadowlands book, it's been the Grimmer of the Shadowlands. It's been. Can you pull Dark Lord back up, Moni? He left the
Yeah,
channel
I'll
and
get
came
him.
back in just to see if it's working now. But it's all set up to be counterpoints to each other. Dark Lord, can you hear us now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yep.
can hear you now.
All right. That's great.
Yeah.
Now,
All right. So as I was saying, and I'll get you to make your points as well after this, but it's all set up to be counters to one another, to work against each other. So it wouldn't make sense that there is a pantheon for order and a pantheon for death that we know about right now, but there's no pantheon for any of the others, especially since we now know that there is most likely a zeroth realm for each of the cosmological forces. We know of Zeroth Mortis, that is the origin realm for death. We know of Zeroth Ordis, which is the origin realm for order. So clearly there must be a Zeroth realm for each of these. That Zeroth realm would have created some kind of pantheon to ensure that everything remains within balance. Now, the other reason we may not be able to see all of these other pantheons, or why we haven't seen them, it may be that they are locked out of our universe. So much like the veil that separated the Shadowlands from our realm, if the veil was never broken, we would never have been able to see any of the Eternal Ones. Because even Zuval, who clearly disliked a lot of things, never made his way through the veil. He never came to the great beyond. Maybe because he can't, or because they have no interest in doing so. But it is possible that all of the other pantheons are stuck on the other side of the veil. And it may even be... Now, this is where we get into, I think, some big brain speculation. We were told that Sargeras, after killing demons over and over and over and over and over again, realized that they kept coming back. All right? And then he built a prison world for the demons. The prison world, of course, being called Mordoom.
Mardoon.
Yeah. And then eventually he broke open the gates of Mordoom and all of that foul energy splat in his face, like a perfect money shot. Pawn would be proud. And Sargeras went fucking ape shit with the power of foul. Now, since then, we learn that Sargeras had anchored the demons to Argus, and we are told the reason he has done this is to speed up their creation. But what if the reason he anchored the demons to Argus was to keep the demons away from the demon lords? So from the pantheon. You see, because when demons die...
Pantheon of disorder.
Yeah. When demons die, they go back into the Twisting Nether, into their origin realm. Now, think of the Twisting Nether almost as the in-between.
Veil?
No. The Twisting Nether is the in-between of disorder. And then somewhere in the in-between lies the realms of disorder, much like the Shadowlands. And when demons die, they return to the Ardenweald of the realms of disorder. In other words, the realm that rebirths demons into reality, so to speak. But the reason Sargeras had to block that and instead tie demons to Argus, because the demon lords would not have allowed for their demons to keep dying effectively in the pursuits of Sargeras. And so in order to shut them out, he changed where demonkind goes when they die, in order to basically yield the ultimate power. So what if it had nothing to do with speed, but rather to do with the actual ability to keep control of his demon armies? And this is why we've not seen the Chaos Lords, because they can physically not come into our realms yet. And of course, we haven't gone to their realms yet, so we wouldn't have been there.
Just like with the Void Lords can't come into our realm.
Exactly. The Void Lords had to push old gods into the great beyond because they themselves cannot exist. And what's interesting is,
If the old gods are actually a part of the Void,
yeah,
and
of
not
course,
Azeroth.
of course, I'm going off of what is now considered to be established lore, not necessarily what we speculate could be bullshit, right? Because there's so much that suggests that the old gods are not part of the Void. But if we are to believe the Titans, the Void Lords pushed essences of themselves into the great beyond, which birthed the old gods, so to speak, right? And
Yeah.
when we saw a Void Lord coming into our realm, it had an incredibly difficult time sustaining itself within our realm. So what if that is the
Yes.
price that you pay when you cross over that veil? So that's why they don't cross over the veil. Because once they are on our side of the veil, because the veil that exists, the anchor keeps pulling them back. So we thought that it's a Void Lord that comes through, and the Void Lord feasts on the literal sort of essence of what is there in order to anchor itself. But what if that's not actually the case? So the Void Lord breaks through the veil, but it's still anchored to the other side of the veil, and the veil that was set up was designed never to be breached. So the anchor keeps pulling the Void Lord back through the veil. But in order to stay, the Void Lord then has to anchor itself to the planet that it's now sort of, attacking. But that anchor rips the planet apart, because this anchor on the side of the void is constantly pulling to get it back in. This is why we don't see eternal ones, or the titans, or the lords of chaos, or any of that. We don't see them in our realm because the veil doesn't allow that. They're not allowed to come through. That could be the thing, right?
Yes, that's true. What about life and light?
Same thing would be true there. If the veil exists for death, then that veil almost certainly, and for void, then that veil almost certainly exists for light and life as well. The bigger question we have to ask ourselves is, why are the Titans on our side of the veil and not
Exactly.
on the other side of the veil? And then who built that veil? Could it be that veil
probably the first ones?
Yeah, but here's the problem. Why would the first ones build a veil to keep the champions of the different cosmological forces out of reality, but then not allow, or not put the Titans on their side of the veil as well? Why would they let the Titans be on our side?
Who built the veil?
That's the question. That's the thing. What if it was the Titans that built the veil?
So they would be the only ones in our reality, and they could control everything.
Exactly.
And they have no competition.
Yeah. Remember Xal'atath's words. Xal'atath says, "Have you asked the Naru about the eternal conflict, about those that came before the Draenei?" In other words, we are now. So Steve
There
Denuser,
was another race.
But Steve Denuser explains it as follows, right? Steve Denuser told us the cosmological forces aren't working together. They're not allies. They each want to control the universe on their own terms. Sometimes they'll band together to defeat one of the cosmological forces when one of them become too powerful. Now, what if we are currently living through the cycle where order magic have become too powerful? So the cosmological force of order have managed to sort of circumvent the entire universe and have blocked all of the other cosmological forces out of it. And that's why we're now seeing cooperation between the different cosmological forces. We're seeing cooperation between Disorder, between Sargeras that realized the truth most likely, Zuval of Death, and all of them are basically trying to disrupt what Order has done, because Order is taking over, and it's not supposed to take over. There's supposed to be balance, right?
True enough. Yes, you're right. Now there's one goddess we haven't even talked about yet. Elune.
Yeah.
What pantheon is she of?
You're asking a good question, sir. You're asking a question that I have no answers to, because at the end of the day, an initial reading of the lore suggests that Elune is of the Pantheon of Death, because the Winter Queen calls her sister. But then why is Elune on the other side of the veil, when all of the other Eternal Ones find themselves on the sides of death? In my opinion, there's two options here. Option number one is that Elune is of none of the cosmological forces, and that Elune is actually something entirely different, but that Elune told the Winter Queen that they are sisters, so as to not have the Winter Queen ask too many questions. Because, well, why would the Winter Queen question it? She was born in Zereth Mortis, she comes out, she finds Elune. Elune says, "Hey, sis!" And the Winter Queen goes, "Hey, you were born probably there as well, just before me. Never mind, it's all good." Right? She's not going to ask questions. Why would she question it? The other option is that Elune is actually a first one.
That was exactly what I was just thinking.
Yeah. Elune is a first one, and Elune, she doesn't want anyone to know, because it's clear that the first ones didn't want their children even to know about them. Not even the Eternal Ones are allowed inside Zereth Mortis. Zereth Mortis is sacred. And so why? I mean, it's not like the Eternal Ones doesn't know about the first ones. They know that they exist, but clearly they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to go back. So if Elune is indeed a first one, there's a chance that Elune didn't tell them because they're not allowed to know. There is another option, and this is one that we discussed yesterday during stream, which is a brand new theory, but I think has a lot of merit. Elune is actually the child of Azeroth. Yesterday.
Ooh.
Yeah. That Azeroth had a child. That child is called Elune. And that Azeroth is fighting back for her dear life against the shall we call it, tyranny of order.
That is an awesome theory. I had not even thought of that one.
It's partly inspired by, as Saven Raven said there, by the book Folks and Fairy Tales, because there is a story in Folks and Fairy Tales that basically they believe it. Now, the problem with Folks and Fairy Tales, of course, is that it is fairy tales, right? It's just stories that they hand down from generation to generation, and we just get sort of insights into that story. But there's enough sort of circumstantial evidence as well, just in the reading of the lore, to suggest that Elune has a very close connection to Azeroth, far closer than anything to any other realm. Especially since Elune finds herself within, she lives at least partially within the Emerald Dream. And if I'm correct, the Emerald Dream is literally the dream of Azeroth. So the Emerald Dream is considered to be the perfect dream of Azeroth. It's what Azeroth should look like without any interference from the outside. But what if that is a misnomer? So it's not the perfect dream of Azeroth as in what it should look like. It's literally the dream of Azeroth. It's what Azeroth dreams. And so her child resides there in order to ensure, and that's why she helped Aeonar to sort of order the dream, to ensure that Aeonar doesn't destroy the dream of her mother.
That is a good theory. That is an awesome theory.
I think so. I think it could be really cool.
Yes, it would. Oh, by the way, I just watched your video you just did about the Drat there and the Black Dragon. That was an awesome video.
Thank you very much.
That is going to be interesting. That end part, that is going to throw a story going on in Dragonflight right now out the window. That's going to mess a lot of people up with a quest that you got to do.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's gonna change the lore of World of Warcraft quite heavily.
Oh yeah.
If that happens, and it is true, and it is gonna happen, I think a lot of people aren't ready for that. But I'm so excited for it.
But but let's just say we'll throw someone's name into the hat of something.
Oh, yes.
And that's going to be very interesting because I think there's already 3 contenders. One that doesn't want it, but I think would be the perfect one. But this, if this is true, this would actually usurp him.
Yeah. If this is true, and if what she says is true, then she is next in line.
Oh yes, and a lot of freaking people, including someone who came from Outland, is going to be very PO'd.
True. Although I have to say, fuck him. I don't like him. I don't trust him
either.
at all.
I actually now Rathian I do like. In fact, I made a drat here that's black, and I actually named him Wrath Pun. As close as I could to Rathian.
Nice. Yeah, I like Rathian.
He's awesome looking.
No,
I do too, but I don't think he's ready for aspect.
No, definitely not. He's young.
Now,
sorry, yeah?
Now, what's it? Ebonhorn. I could see Ebonhorn.
I agree with you. He would
be the perfect aspect. He doesn't seek power. He's actually humble, unlike Sibelian and Rathian. They're like freaking cocky as hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think Rathian isn't ready. He's way too young, way too arrogant, and a little.
Young. He's still a whelp.
Yeah, it's clear he's way too. I mean, I don't think the Black Dragons will trust him. Even if he became the aspect, I don't think they would throw behind him.
And then Sibelian was around Netherian, Deathwing, whatever the hell you want to call him.
Yeah.
And he had the corruption. Ebonhorn, Abyssian. That's his real name, Abyssian. I had to think a minute. Abyssian was cleansed 10,000 years ago of the corruption, but the one you said in the video,
Adamanthia,
predates him. Yeah, predates him over 10,000 years. So that would be before the corruption.
She's literally
she
from the same
clutch. Worry about it.
Yeah, she is from the. Let's call it the prime clutch of the Black Dragons, because that's where Naltharion comes from. So she can absolutely
She would be the one if they could free her.
Yeah.
And she was fine, 100% help. I could see her taking over as the aspect.
See, well, that's where the question comes in now. Will she be fine? She's been imprisoned for 10,000 years, kept in stasis. She might
not be corrupted, but she might be crazy as hell.
She might be fucking nuts, bro. Like, she could be very angry.
But if she was not, she would be the perfect aspect. She's old enough. She'd probably be just as big as the other, like Alistraza and Norse Dormu, because if you look at them compared to the other dragons, they're humongous.
True.
Yeah, I think part of that also has to do with being an aspect.
Yeah, that's probably true too. Because if you look at it, they're bigger than all the other dragons. They are huge when you stand next to them at the seat of the aspects. You're looking up and I'm like, Jesus Christ, these things are huge.
Yeah. I just want to say something to people in chat going, oh, but Illidan. The words of Naltharion isn't just that he will keep her in stasis. It's not just that he will lock her up. It's that she will experience agony like never before.
Never before for years that death would not.
Yeah, not even death will give her reprieve. She won't find reprieve within death. Her suffering will be so great, chat, that all who look upon her will see her suffering immediately and know that she is cursed. That's what Deathwing promised her. So she's not just been locked up. Yeah. It's not just, I can't move. She's probably locked in there and suffering constantly.
Mm-hmm. Son of a bitch. Did he do this before he was Deathwing, or?
Yeah. This was probably before he became Deathwing.
This was probably right after I think from the way Akalon put it, this was probably right after them little shorts they released before Dragonflight when he put the Drat there into stasis. before 10,000 years before his supposed actual corruption.
Yeah, it was shortly
he did
after that
this.
because she still did experiments on the Drakthir that was in stasis, trying to figure out why their memories were coming back and how to stop that process. Right, they were trying to reintroduce the order magic that had kept them in line and basically kept them brainwashed. And then Deathwing sent her a message saying cease and desist immediately, stop it all. And then her final message to him was that, she begs him not to kill them, not to do all of these experiments on them. They can be reasoned with. They have free will, but they are powerful, and they will follow him if he just asks, right? Basically. And shortly after that, she would have been imprisoned. And obviously made to suffer an incredible torment as a result of this.
Okay, here's another question. If we can free her and she's not, batshit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
In the video, you said that Therian wanted her to take the black dragon magic from the Drakthir, which is why we don't see any with them as the playable characters on the Invokers.
Yeah.
If we can get her without being batshit crazy, you think she could reintroduce the black dragon magics back into the Drakthir?
She could probably. She took it out. There's every reason to believe she can put it back in.
That would be awesome.
And that's your tank spec.
Would probably be good.
That's your tank spec right there.
Yeah.
That's
and
Blizzard
also
bringing
might
tank
even
spec
open up a tank. Probably open up a tank option.
Yeah, that's what I literally just said. The black dragon aspect that's been removed from them is their tank spec.
Yeah.
And so there's a chance that it was her essence that was used to create them in the first place, because the Drakthir say they feel an incredible connection to her. They don't remember her, but they do feel a connection to her. And one that they can't explain. It's like she calls to them throughout the ages. She pulls on their memories. That, to me, suggests that she made them. Her essence was once a part of them, and the extraction of the Black Dragon essence, or the Black Dragon essence, removed that memory from them, but the traces are still there. So they remember who their mother was, effectively. So yeah, I'm pretty sure.
My question is, but also, since they used her for the Black Dragon aspect for the Drakthir, what bronze, red, blue, and green did they use to put the magic into the Drakthir?
Now that's a difficult one, because Nalfarian has always been obsessed with the essence of the other dragons. All of his experiments would involve essence from other dragons. I don't know if it was always done sort of voluntarily.
Yeah.
Right? Given how much
that is also another question.
Yeah, given how much of a friend Malagos was, at least before the betrayal,
Malagos
probably could have came from him
of it.
Yeah, Malagos would probably have given it just because. Because they were friends.
They were such good friends.
Yeah.
If I remember right, Alex Strasva had always been kind of questionable about those in those requests.
Yeah, I don't think
remember
he would...
him coming back in Cataclysm, like obsessed with capturing her.
Yeah, well, he was obsessed with capturing all of them. To
Everyone,
be fair,
yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I don't know exactly, right? I genuinely don't know, but I can tell you, it was probably not done voluntarily. They most likely, because here's the thing: the Forbidden Reach is called the Forbidden Reach, and she mentions that she doesn't know if it's shame, but no one may know what is beneath the Forbidden Reach. Now,
could it be the fifth god?
Well, it could actually be, but more importantly, what it actually could be is perhaps a dragon graveyard. In other words, all of these dragons that he used to experiment on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called the Forbidden Reach. No one can see, because she says shame. Why would he feel shame about the Drakthir? I mean, he's made plenty of other creatures in the past. He's done plenty of things in the past. So it is possible that he decided to he basically hid all of the dragon bones of all the dragons that died due to his experiments. He hid them underneath the Forbidden Reach, and then placed the Drakthir in there as well and sealed it up to ensure that no one would ever find it. That would be like a guess, I think.
But think about this: if the Drakthir at one time had the black dragon magic, can you imagine how powerful freaking soldiers they were?
Oh yeah, of course. She says it herself.
Maybe why he put them in stasis is so the other dragons, when he did turn on them, couldn't use his own creation against him, because all them Drakthir, if they had turned on him, probably could have beat the shit out of him with all them powers.
Interesting thought. Very interesting thought. The other thing it could be, and this is, if Blizzard wanted to do this, that would actually be such a humanizing moment. Because at some point in his missives, in his communications with her, Deathwing says, or Nalfarian at this point still, she says he's angry. Things are going too fast. It's interfering with his plans, right? So something's going wrong. And it's progressing too fast. What if the removal of the Black Dragon essence was a last-ditch effort to save the Drakthir? He realized that he realized that he was going crazy. He realized that the old gods had buried too deep, and that there was no way for him to stop it, and that the connection to Black Dragon essence would have left them susceptible to the
corrupted just as well.
Yeah, to the corruption of the old gods. And so he ordered
That
her
is a good theory.
remove the Black Dragon essence, so that they are not susceptible to old god corruption. And that was sort of his final act of morality, so to speak, before he completely started losing his mind.
Yeah. Also, I also like to bring up, remember, I think I brought up in one of your streams the other day about Doran's movies, about that little theory about Azeroth being the old god.
Yeah.
Okay. I just watched another one of his that about 4 hours ago. Now he's got one out thinking that Anduin might wind up just like Terrellian. That when he comes back, he'll look really old, because he's had 100 years of experience, because now he's disappeared, and talked about I think a comic they did back in the day where it showed old Anduin as the leader of the Army of the Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's been
You know what I'm talking about?
turned as non-canon now, hasn't it?
I don't think it's been officially declared non-canon. People are sort of questioning it because Turalian is there and Anduin seems to be going more soft on this stuff. I don't know if
but he's disappeared now. What if he's hardening himself?
Well, it doesn't seem like he's hardening himself, because when he speaks to Sylvanas, it actually seems like he's taking a much softer stance to Sylvanas and to Zuval and to the overall plans that they had. Now that could be just the line in, because if you think about what the Light wants, it wants very similar things to what Zuval wanted to do, only from the perspective of the Light. So it is possible. It is possible. That's all I can say at the moment.
I think we're heading towards maybe not Net's expansion, but I think you said it before about a Light versus Void conflict coming.
Oh yeah.
I think when Anduin comes back, Terrellian is not going to give up that throne, and there's going to be an alliance civil war. I know you're not an alliance fan. I know you're like for the Horde, Sylvanas, all that nice, wonderful stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm more of an alliance person. Sorry.
Sad man. Like that feels bad, man. But it's fine, It's fine. I forgive you.
I will say that we got a lot of people in the Q&A lobby, so I think we'll have to cut off your questions there. Apologies,
Okay, that's
but
enough.
we just
No,
gotta
it's
get
okay.
through.
It's okay. I got in what I really wanted to.
Yeah, I really
wanted to get
appreciate the
Athlon's
questions,
take
though.
on that.
I do appreciate the questions, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Absolutely.
And remember, if you
And
have...
I'll let. It'll be another day, but I'll let other people get their questions in. But thank you. I'm glad for your time, and I'm glad I finally got to talk to you and got some of my ideas out.
The Dark Lord, I do this because I love chatting to people and I love hanging out with people, and I do apologize that we have to sometimes sort of cut it short.
It's okay.
But
it's okay.
You know,
I know.
Everyone wants
I
to...
kind of feel. I had a feeling I was getting a little long-winded here, but
no,
it's
man.
okay.
When we're geeking out about lore, it's all good. It's all good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, trust me, I don't like having to call the time up. The time is your time is up thing, but just the amount of people we got in here.
No problem. No problem. Y'all take care. Y'all have a great day. I'm gonna continue watching the stream, listen to other people.
Thank you very much, Dark Lord. Really appreciate it.
Ace is back.
I'll tell y'all later. Bye.
Peace out, bro. Can I quickly just say, Dreneman with the 5 community subs, and I saw no hearts in chat. What the fuck is going on? Where's the hearts? 5 new babies for the DJ Nation meat grinder, and I see no hearts. You guys are slipping. You need to fix your shit. Violet Doom, thanks for the first time chat. Really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so I'm assuming we have Ace coming in now, right?
Yep, and I just pulled them in. I will be right back.
Ace, how you doing, fam?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, good stuff, bro. Welcome back. Is your daughter home safe now?
Yeah, we're back from the appointment, so we're good.
That's cool, bro. Happy to hear that. All right, what's your question, Ace?
All right, so it's kind of Ace from the other, or I think it was the guy who was just talking right now, Dark Horse and stuff, who was kind of like on the whole aspect of the decay gods and stuff like that, or at least who their pantheon can be like related to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm heavily now think that the old gods are on that train, especially with how me and the Ace who asked the Warhammer question, we're kind of speculating how what the cult here is and all the other stuff like that. You got the what are those death druids people called again?
The Drustar.
There you go, the Drustar. You got them.
Yeah.
And they're very plant-like, you know what I mean? And you got the Titan lady who was a very much a nature person. I can't remember the name. I'm like blanking out. There you go. And we were theorizing that, you know, they had Cahoon or whatever. You know, he's very much the creation of the Titans that became just this weird mess.
Yeah.
Obviously, now that this whole aspect of the Titans are trying to like cover up their mess, how does it seem more that the old gods were obviously just really actually failed creations or experiments from the whatchamacallit? From them, you know what I mean? Yeah, from them and from the Titans, and that's why maybe they're corrupted from void and also decay in some other aspect. But you know, it's a weird amalgamation. The fact that now we're finding out the Titans actually knew a lot more than they're letting on.
Yeah. So on the front of the old gods being creations of the Titans, I don't think that's necessarily true. The old gods seem to, their history at least, seems to suggest that they were here long before the Titans ever even arrived. Right? They were on Azeroth before any of this, and we have multiple sources to corroborate that. We first have the voices of the old gods themselves, Xalatath and the like, creatures of the old gods. We have Locust Walker, that kind of confirms that as well. We have the Titans themselves that confirm that when they arrived on Azeroth, they found the Black Empire. Now, that's not to say that... Because the funny thing about the old gods is what we know about them also comes from the Titans, and that even isn't first-hand knowledge. It's not like the Titans saw the Void Lords push their fragments through the veil. What they know of the old gods is what Sargeras heard from the Nathrazim, and then, of course, conveyed to them when he was trying to convince them that, hey, we should just destroy everything. And maybe their own speculations on things. Because the problem is that they arrive on Azeroth to find the Old Gods, and we know that when they arrive, they know nothing of what the Old Gods are, because their first order of business is to just rip Yesuraj out of the planet. This, of course, almost kills Azeroth. So clearly they have no idea what this is and what they do. They just sort of they just sort of know that these things are a threat. So the exact origins of the Old Gods, I would say right now, is completely unknown to us, but that they are they're definitely not tied to the Titans. Now, again, there are people that's going to believe that they're of the Void, and that's perfectly fine. I continue to believe that they may in fact actually be from Azeroth, and that Azeroth is a type of being that isn't part of the Void. So my thinking on what Azeroth is basically comes from the first ones and the language of the first ones. So according to the language of the first ones, there were two forces. These two forces would eventually split. One of the forces would become what we now know as the cosmos and all of the cosmological forces, and then they refer to the other as the one outside the cycle. If you listen to the Old Gods, they only ever refer to those that they serve as the masters. So what if... Oh my god, I've done this. I've done so many videos on this. It's so difficult to actually make to make sense of this, because it's very convoluted. But everything in the cosmological map is the opposite of something else, right? So you have life and death, order and disorder. These are opposites to one another. And then you have light and darkness. No, you don't. You have light and void. Void is not the opposite of light. It's never been the opposite of light. You cannot tell me that the opposite of light is void, because void is nothingness. It's not darkness. It's nothing. So if you look at the cosmological map, the only true opposite of void is reality, because reality is something. And then the opposite of something is nothing, right? So void would be the opposite of something, which would be reality. Now, they keep referring to their masters as the thing, but I think the entire cosmological map is wrong. Because I think the cosmological map conflates certain issues with one another. In the cosmological map, so I'll pull up the cosmological map quickly so people can... so I can quickly show people this. Just bear with me, chat. All right, so here we go. On the cosmological map here, just open the image in a new tab, and we can sort of zoom in. If you look at the cosmological map here on your screen, you have the Old Gods, the Void Lords, Shadow, Void, and Shadow. On the light side, you have the Naru Holy Light. These things are conflated. These things are wrong. They have four things here that I believe have nothing to do with each other. But they placed it here because it's the only thing that kind of made sense to them. Why? Because for the Titans, everything has an opposite force. So the Titans looked at this and said, okay, if there is life and if there is death, if there is order and if there is disorder, then there is light and therefore there must be shadow. Then, if the Old Gods and the Void Lords do not fit in order or death or disorder or life, then clearly they must fit in shadow. But there's one problem. The Titans didn't know about the force on the outside of all of this. The force that's trying to push through, that was never part of the original creation. And that's where I think the Void Lords come in. And I think Azeroth is one of these, what they call Void Lords, which probably is completely wrong. They're most likely not Void Lords at all. They're most likely nothing like what they think they are, or what we think they are. But it is possible that the old gods are indeed the children of Azeroth. And I sort of throw that out there because the old gods seems to be the ones that create life. The Titans tried to create life. On multiple occasions, they have failed to create life. Azeroth, on the other hand, has no problem creating life. We know of much life that was created very naturally on Azeroth. The fact that the old gods have that ability, they create life. The gift of flesh, that's life. That's all it is. It's called life. It's gift of flesh. It's life. It gives you life. How can a being that is associated with void give life?
Would you say then like Azeroth is like a singularity point for like all the cosmological forces? Since I think that when we went over last time on one of your streams, whatever, with the Whispers of Xal'atath, she was saying something about that the void is like very close here as well, but something like that.
Yeah. So I would, my personal opinion, it goes back and forth because on the one hand, it could be possible that this map is completely correct, and I'm just looking into it to sort of biasly, right? I'm being biased in how I'm looking at it, and that's entirely possible. The other option is that I'm correct in what I'm saying, and then all we have to figure out is there a force? Is there a force on the outside? Or is that second force that is said to be on the outside actually this force? Because it would kind of make sense to me. Azeroth is unlike anything else in our universe. Azeroth seems to be the enemy in many ways of the things within our universe. Spirit, fire, earth, air, the elemental forces seems to be very much connected to Azeroth. So perhaps Azeroth is the odd one out. Perhaps Azeroth is the one that doesn't belong here. If that makes sense.
I've always thought that. I think like now with everything coming out, what if like Azeroth is like the singularity point, but also like kind of it doesn't have an element, and that's why everybody can cling to it and claim that this is a Titan, it's an old god, but in reality it's just it's none of them. It's like an empty, not empty, not necessarily like the void, but like it can take any of these elements at all that it chooses.
I can see that. She took spirit. We know that, right?
Mm-hmm. And then that one's just gone, like nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, she just removed it.
And then you have the decay with the.
I mean, decay isn't gone. The primal incarnate of decay was Galakrond. The problem is, where is decay? That's the big question. We know where the elemental plane is for air. We know where the elemental plane for fire is. We know where the elemental plane for water is. We know where the elemental plane for earth is. We know that the elemental plane for spirit was never created because Azeroth had consumed all spirit, at least this is according to the Titans. What about decay? Now, this is where my theory comes from with the old gods. I believe that all of these elemental magics are from Azeroth herself. They're tied to Azeroth very specifically. At least to Azeroth or to beings like Azeroth. Azeroth isn't a Titan, and the reason I believe this is we know now about Zereth Ordis. We are told by Tyr in his book that we as mortals may never know about Zereth Ordis or what had happened there. So we now know that the Titans were not, as they say, created as nascent world souls. They were created inside Zereth Ordis, just like the Eternal Ones were. Azeroth, on the other hand, is inside a planet, born and bred within this planet. So, to me, this suggests that Azeroth, whatever she is, she's not a Titan. This could probably make Argus not a Titan as well. Because Argus was also born inside a planet. So there's a chance that Argus himself, specifically called the Unmaker, right? Unmake and Void actually very closely aligned to each other. Because unmaking something means you take something and turn it into nothing. Right? So just to throw that out there. But it is entirely possible that these Titans were not born the way that they claim to have been born, and that instead they were born inside Zereth Ordis, the same as the Eternal Ones. Now, this leaves then one big question. What or where is Decay?
Yeah, because the Drestar or whatever, they can obviously use that magic, and it has some relation to death or whatever.
I hope the Drustvar get their time in the spotlight. They really were they've gotten snubbed twice now.
Yep.
Yeah. You got teased twice.
Here's my question for you guys. Who made Galakrond?
Supposedly it was an experiment done by the Titans. Like they found like the biggest proto drake they could, and they started just screwing around with the other forces,
that's
seeing
wrong.
what would happen.
No, that's wrong. It was Yogg-Saron that made Galakrond. Now, Moni, what you're saying is the speculation that's going on in Discord. People in Discord are speculating that the Titans sort of didn't want to admit that they had just created something that's going to fucking destroy the planet. And so they just sort of said, oh, it's not us, it's him. It's the guy that's locked up that can't fucking speak for himself. It's that fucking asshole. Right? That's what Discord is speculating on right now. I don't believe that Discord is correct here. I actually think that Yogg-Saron did make Galakrond. But now you have to start asking yourself, how is it possible that Yogg-Saron, if the lore is to be believed, Yogg-Saron is an old god of the Void Lords. But somehow, Yogg-Saron has the ability to create an incarnate of the realms of decay.
Or at least push them in that direction.
Here's something else that we haven't, obviously, maybe in the future expansions, we'll obviously see the dark side of Azeroth, but like, what if that's where the side of decay not necessarily resides, but at least like kind of like how we had the Twilight, what was it called again? The people that like to
Twilight Hammer.
There you go. Yeah, they were trying to bring about that whole scenario. So what if the people for Decay, they have like a headquarters behind Azeroth, and because we have the Coltirian part where they have the Drustar, teased in there, and obviously they're showing us that Galakrond was infected with Decay. So what if the Titans just said, oh, it was Yogg-Saron, but in reality it was a Decay, remnants or something that's on the backside that they just swept so that nobody could see it.
I mean, it is possible what you're saying, but I think the problem there is now we're leaving a lot of question marks, right? So we're including a lot of question marks. So basically, our equation for your theory would be question mark, realms of decay, other side, question mark, old god, maybe question mark, Galakrond, proto-drake, that we know for a fact, equals question mark, right? So there's a lot of question marks in that. Whereas mine suggests the following. Azeroth is the mother of all elemental magic, including the realms of decay. Yogg-Saron and the other old gods are the quote-unquote lords of decay. Yogg-Saron calls himself the god of death. Decay is nothing other than death. It is to decay, it is to die. It's very closely related. Yogg-Saron calls himself the god of death. Yogg-Saron also happens to be able to create the incarnate of decay, which is Galakrond. Therefore, all of this was created by Azeroth. Azeroth is the system that's been... So you have to think of Azeroth and the elemental magics as... Let me show you guys again. You have Azeroth and the elemental magics here in the middle. And then all of this around Azeroth and the elemental magics is the prison that was built by the first ones to lock up this system, to bring order to this system, because the first ones couldn't allow for this system to grow and become its own thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's just based on a reading of the lore, right? That's based on my reading of the lore. I'm not saying I'm correct. And your theory has some interesting implications as well, because your theory involves the other side of Azeroth, and that immediately piques my interest. Because what the fuck is on the other side of our planet? How is this?
Wasn't there? Yeah, because wasn't there in the notes that we get from those books, like basically written in there, basically saying that like, oh, what we see of like Kalimdor is nothing, like, so where's the other bits of the land? Where's the other part of the planet that was created? And obviously we can never, it's obviously that we saw part of it in like an early, I think like TBC or Wrath dungeon, I think World War.
Yeah.
But like,
Ace, I'd like to just point out that the chat has decided that the baby in the background knows all and has been giving us the answers. We just can't understand him.
All right. Sorry.
Oh no, you don't need to apologize. I thought you'd just find that hilarious. Is that they're like, oh my god, the baby knows.
Yeah.
No, she's super vocal. She sees that I'm talking and she's like, oh look, there's more people.
That's cute as fuck.
That's adorable.
But I mean, we have Avaloran, right? Avaloran is the place where the heretics went. And we know that no matter how many expeditions they tried to send to Avaloran, none of those expeditions made it back. They were fucking wrecked. They got their asses handed to them. So, going to Avaloran, I am in. I want to know what is in Avaloran.
We can get some King Arthur styled architecture or whatever.
I wonder if that's going to be a new expansion or just a patch. World of Warcraft. Battle for Avaloran. Or just Avaloran. What would be a cooler name?
I don't know. I think they're not going to need to be involved with this. If it's going to be Avaloran.
Azara did say that she is going to claim the ultimate throne.
And she's been gone for a minute since Battle for Azeroth. We left the planet Shadowlands, and now we're doing the stuff here in Dragonflight.
Yeah.
So she's been cooking up for a good minute.
I mean, we don't know what the ultimate throne of power is, but it is possible.
It's on Azeroth.
The ultimate throne, as far as the Azeroth that we know of, there's no such thing. What would be the ultimate throne of power on Azeroth? What are you talking about? There's no such thing as the ultimate throne of power on Azeroth. But what if the ultimate throne of power doesn't lie on the Azeroth that we know of, but rather in the Azeroth that we have not been to yet? In other words, Avaloran.
Yeah.
I'm for it. I'm absolutely for it. Anyways, did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask, or anything that you still wanted to say before we move on?
No, I think my daughter is good with me here and not fast what I needed to. But you guys have a good day. Say bye.
Cool stuff, bro. Get her some ice cream.
Oh, definitely. She's got some ice cream already.
Ah, nice. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Peace out, bro. Oh, that was cute as fuck, bro. She's having the time of her life, just chilling out. You're getting into the WoW lore early. Like, that's gonna be one cool fucking teenager. All right, Moni, who is next?
All right, up next we have Terra 113.
All right,
and
cool.
This one's going to be a bit different because we're going to start off with their question and kind of build into some others that have been asked that are in a similar vein.
All right, cool stuff. After this, we're going to take, I think, 2 more questions. Just because I have to get to the Patreon podcast as well, and we're already over 2 hours that we've been doing the Q&A. So if you would just work out, Moni, up until who we're still going to be taking questions from, and just let people know that is currently waiting in the Q&A lobby, because I don't want them to, wait around hoping to get their question asked, and then just make a note of all the people that is there so that they get their turn first next week. Please, I would appreciate that, Moni. Thank you so much. Terra,
Will do.
what is your question, bro?
So, we kind of approached it with Dark Lord's question, but we now have the information with Notherion having a sister.
Yes.
So, do we think that she could potentially be the next aspect of the Black Dragonflight, since most of the Dragonflight already knows her?
Yeah. I mean, do most of the Dragonflight already know her? I don't think so. The ones that are alive right now would probably not know her at all. She was part of the original Clutch. She was part of the original Black Dragons. She was locked up before Nalfarian became Deathwing. So she wasn't part of the corrupted Black Dragonflight. She wasn't even part of the Black Dragonflight that left the Dragon Isles. Remember, after the Black Dragonflight left the Dragon Isles and it was locked up, she remained. So there is a good chance that none of them have a fucking clue who she is or have any idea. And for people in chat that's going, wait, Deathwing has a sister? Head over to YouTube right now, watch my video on it. It literally dropped maybe like 2 hours ago or some shit. But I have an entire video on that. Terra?
So, as far as I know, also, Abyssion's still locked to that region, isn't he?
Abyssion?
Wasn't he locked to, for whatever...
Oh, you mean High Mountain?
Reason?
Yeah. No, okay, so the reason he didn't...
free him of that?
Okay, so the reason he wouldn't leave High Mountain is because he set up those, you do a quest line of this, but there's these, let's call it anchors that he set up, but wards effectively to stop Old God corruption from reaching him, that he set up in High Mountain. So for him to, as soon as he left High Mountain, the Old Gods knew where he was, and so they started attacking him. You see that when he goes to Thunderbluff. As soon as he shows up on Thunderbluff, the Old Gods very much aware, oh, look, it's our old friend. Let's go. So, but since N'Zoth has now been defeated, and I do believe that he ultimately managed to cleanse himself of it, so he's managed to now move around. I think he can move around as much as he wants now, without much issue anymore. So I don't think he's locked up anymore, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. Now, I mean, the next question that most people have, and I see people in chat have asked this also earlier in the stream, Abyssion being the Black Dragon aspect. Abyssion doesn't want it. And even though, in my opinion, that makes him probably the best one to have it, because usually that's who you want power to, that's who you want to have power, is the person that doesn't want power. Because usually the people that want the power is the people you should not fucking trust. But in this instance, the problem that Abyssion has is, first of all, he doesn't want it. And him not wanting it will probably mean that a lot of the Black Dragons wouldn't accept him. as their aspect, because that is necessary, right? Your flight has to accept you as their leader. That, by the way, is the one problem that I think Rathian has. I don't think his flight is, at least not the ones that's following Sibelian. I don't think that they will fall in line behind a child, because he is still very much a child. The ones that follow Rathian may fall in line with Sibelian, but I don't think we can trust Sibelian, because Sibelian was corrupted. He claims that he managed to sever the ties, and he claims that he managed to break free of the corruption, but that's a claim that has yet to bear any real test. Even Alexstrasza doesn't trust Sibelian. Not enough to allow him to be anywhere near the other clutches. So I would argue Sibelian is probably, like, his story is probably going to lead to villain. That's my guess at the moment. I can't tell you why, but he seems to have the perfect face and eyes to be a villain.
So, future raid boss potentially.
Yes, that's what I think. Like,
That
okay,
would
so
be awesome.
if you look at characters, right? Characters that usually become allies would be characters that's either, snarky, a little bit, sort of too big for their britches, but ultimately friendly. Rathian is actually a good example of this. Very arrogant, very full of himself, but there's a friendly look to him. There's an inviting look to him. But then you look at Sibelian, you look at his eyes, you look at his face. There's an anger there. He looks angry. He has villain face, if you will. So it just looks like he will be the next villain. Like they've set him up to be the next villain. And this leaves Adamantia. Now with Adamantia, there's only really one question. We know that Adamantia wasn't corrupted. We also know that Adamantia shows signs of caring very deeply, insofar as she was willing to put her own life on the line to try and save the Drakthir. And of course, she did pay the ultimate price. She was locked up. The only question we then have to ask ourselves is, what did that locking up inflict upon her? Like, how much suffering has been inflicted upon her as a result of being locked up?
And can seeing the Drakthir again snap her out of whatever rut she is going to be in if we free her?
Yeah, I don't know, because that's the thing. You've been locked up for how many millennia, right? You've been locked up. And not just locked up, you've been made to suffer for how many millennia? Are you coming back at all as normal? I don't think so. I think you come back as very fucking angry. But of course, time will tell, because I do think she makes sense as an aspect. Of all of the aspects, she makes the most sense, because she is the oldest, she's Deathwing's sister, she was there from the beginning, she was never corrupted, she never heard the voices of the old gods. She is probably the best one to become the aspect.
I kind of agree with Marasquan there, too. The other aspects know her, so they can speak for her identity.
Yeah, the other aspects would know who she is. I mean, she was the sister of Deathwing. They would obviously have every reason to trust her. Unless, of course, she was a bitch and they actually hate her. We'll know as soon as we get into the new patch. Because this is patch 10.0.7. So we will know very soon if they hate her or if they love her or what exactly the story is there. We should know very soon, at least.
Yeah, to that point, we actually have a few questions in the Q&A that are around kind of her identity as well as relation to Deathwing, because of course, the Black Dragonflight has such a troubled history.
Yeah.
So, Syed is asking, is it possible that Deathwing or her sister, with the help of an old god, made the Drakthir? If so, does that mean the old gods need like Titan magic to construct or to like warp or shape the curse of flesh? I think it's an interesting theory, but I don't believe that the old god's influence was accepted until that desperation of sealing Razagath away.
So, the old gods, we saw the moment that Nalfarian accepted the old gods for the first time. We saw that moment. Nalfarian was up with his back against the wall, and he had just lost the one weapon that he needed, the control through the Titan artifact. We now know this because his correspondence with Adamantia proves it. That glove that he wore allowed him to exert complete control over the Drakthir. They effectively fought as one person. They fought as Deathwing. So they were incredibly effective. The problem for Deathwing was as soon as that hand broke, the Drakthir would now have the ability to question why they fight. And Deathwing couldn't allow that. So he tried multiple experiments with multiple Titan artifacts, including the Hammer of Kaskorath, in order to see if other types of order magic could in fact be introduced to re-exert that control. I think that line proves the level of control that the Titans have within order magic. It's nothing other than domination magic, just called a different thing.
But was it actually necessary, though?
Not necessarily. Adamantia says that it wasn't necessary. She explains that the Drakthir can think for themselves and they will be loyal, but it will be loyalty through choice, not loyalty through, subversion,
Force.
so to speak. Yeah, through force. Deathwing couldn't allow that. He needed an army that would do his bidding, that would do exactly as he says, which is actually kind of weird. I really hope Blizzard dives into this, because we know that when Tyr did that, they failed to take down Galakrond, because Tyr did the exact same thing. Tyr used that exact artifact to control the aspect when they were still proto-drakes against Galakrond, and they lost. It wasn't until Tyr was taken down and the proto-drakes were able to fight Galakrond as proto-drakes would, that by working together they were able to kill Galakrond. So it's kind of weird that Nalfarian now, being the aspect, knowing full well that through full control they weren't able to take down Galakrond, he still wanted an army that he would be able to exert full control over. What exactly this army was built for, of course, becomes the question. And if we argue that the army was built for Razagath, it's entirely possible that that is why. His biggest issue was that Razagath could convince the Drakthir that their plight is the true plight to fight for. That they should join the Primal Incarnates because they are dragons first. And that what the Titans had done is an evil. We know, of course, later that after Deathwing was corrupted, he also believed, as the Primal Incarnates do, that what the Titans did was evil, and that it should be undone as quickly as possible. The main thing, though...
It's interesting that he ultimately did not free the Incarnates, like when he himself fell.
Well, he
but
couldn't.
Then again, the
he couldn't
old gods.
Well, no.
Because he couldn't get
back
to the Dragon Isles.
Yeah, he couldn't get to the Dragon Isles. So, yeah, he wouldn't have been able to free them. But I do think that he would probably have freed them given the option. But then again, it's not obvious that the Primal Incarnates served the old gods. Iridikron may have made deals with the old gods. But the other Primal Incarnates did not. Otherwise, why would the Void have helped Nalfarian imprison Razagath? They obviously wouldn't have.
Because what I really like about the Incarnates, and this goes back to your point about wanting to see them persist throughout a couple expansions. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
What I like is it shows that the elemental plane, like the elemental planes themselves, are not necessarily good or evil. Like
Yeah.
for most of the lore, people could probably accurately say that the elemental planes are ruled over by these elemental lords that are quasi-evil because they sided with the old gods. Now,
Yeah.
they had enough time in their own realms to kind of think about it, and we know that some of them decided that was a bad decision overall.
Yeah.
But the main point being is that the elemental planes were made as prisons for the elements and the elemental lords. But now we're seeing that life naturally evolves from them with how the proto-drakes emerged.
Yeah.
So that there is actually some kind of not necessarily consciousness behind them, but it doesn't seem to be a place that is specifically just a prison. Like these elemental planes existed before Odin used Helia and Loken to lock the elemental lords away.
Oh yeah. I mean, again, the people love to refer to the elemental planes as being created by the Titans, but no one seems to remember that created and ordered is the same word for the Titans. So basically, it's not that the elemental planes were built by the Titans or the Titan Keepers. It's that the Titan Keepers turned them into prisons, i.e., ordered them, and then locked the elemental lords within it. So, yeah, I mean, primarily, I think, to answer the question that you asked, Moni, the old gods were not involved in the creation of the Drakthir. There's no evidence for that whatsoever. It was just the essence of all dragonkind. Some kind of mortal essence was thrown in there as well, and then the use of the Titan relic to mind control the fuck out of him.
Yep.
So what is your thought, Akko, on if we free her and potentially given the Drakthir the Black Essence back, them potentially becoming or getting a tank spec when Blizz has fought so hard to tell us that they were going to be a ranged only class?
Well, I seem to remember Ian actually said that for now, Ian did say for now they're a ranged only class because they basically built everything to be around flying and movement and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean that that's what they have to be forever, right? They can eventually become tanks. I think even Ian said we can eventually look at that. It is eventually a possibility. So it might be that Blizzard is planning to do something like that. As people in chat have just said, ranged tank could also be a very interesting sort of idea. You know, something that is tanking from a range rather than needing to be in melee range in order to tank.
That
could
would be interesting.
Yeah, I actually was going to bring this up later in the podcast, so I'll just make my point on it short. That I kind of like that they are going away from the 3 spec that we have come to see. Like with the Demon Hunter, they're just DPS tank. Invoker now has just been DPS healer. One thing I was curious about is if we'd ever see a like tank healer, like a combo where the DPS is actually not in that class. But I given how new Invoker is and how we don't have really any precedent at all in regards to like classes, like they have to have these number of specializations.
Yeah.
They could just implement a tanking spec after seeing how popular by demand it is, just like how they eventually had to separate Feral and Guardian, and Druid became our only 4-spec class.
Yeah.
Because I play a Guardian Druid, so...
Well, there you go. I mean, it could happen for anyone in chat that's asking how would that happen. There's so many ways. It's black dragons, earth magic, earth elemental, summoned. That's the thing that keeps the tank in place. Your job then becomes to empower the earth elemental, move the earth elemental around, heal the earth elemental with your red and green magic, things like this. Because remember, you are all of the magics from all of the dragonflights, so you're effectively in charge of keeping your golem alive, because that's what tanks for you. So there's ways to make ranged tanks work. You just have to, really think about it and make it cool, and it could really work. Anyways, we're very pressed for time, and we still have to take at least one more caller. So I hate to.
You have a good one. It was great talking to you, and I will chat with you throughout messages.
Oh yeah,
you're more than welcome. Streams, buddy.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much, bro. Really appreciate it. Take care of yourself, fam.
You too.
All right, just very quickly want to say Hector Howell with the Prime sub, dude. Welcome to the most degenerate chat on Twitch. Very much appreciate you, fam. Thank you. And then, of course, Butterbeans, 6 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you. All right, Moni, who is our final caller for the night?
All right. Our final one will be Hector Howell, actually. It's funny you should mention him. So he's joining as a first-time chatter. And then we'll start with, in the next Q&A, I apologize, D-Rock. I misunderstood that we were just going to have this one and then one other. So we'll start with yours next week.
Yeah, sorry. When I say 2, I probably should have explained 2 more, as in one after this one. But it is 20 minutes past, and I should have started the Patreon podcast like 20 minutes ago. So, there's going to be patrons that's pissed. It's like, what the fuck, bro? Like, we've been waiting here. So, yeah. Anyways, let's get to the final one. Hector Howell, how you doing, fam?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much for the sub, man. Really appreciate it, and also very happy to have you here.
Yeah, and I don't know if you gave the other dude some false hope there. Feel free to give him the spot right now. I'm more than happy to try and catch the next one.
No, it's fine.
Was my mistake.
D-Rocker will definitely come in and say his piece again, so you don't have to worry about that.
Fantastic.
All right, what's your question, bro?
All right, so a couple weeks ago, I wrote up a list here, so hopefully we can find something of interest on here. If we get to 1 or 2 questions, that's fantastic. If you want to do more, let's keep going. So my first one's a little bit of a fun one. Okay. My question is, where in the world of Warcraft is Akalon? So to give you a little more context, when you imagine Akalon the Orc Warlock, as you do, thinking about the cosmos, thinking about these theories, what is the space in which he exists?
Oh, he stands next to Lord Gul'dan, plotting the invasion of the Dark Forces and the destruction of all life on Azeroth. That's where I am. That's what I'm doing.
Well, I hope you don't meet the same fate as he did.
I'm bringing him back.
Time.
I'm working on bringing him back. Don't worry. There's always another skull just around the corner. Right.
The third Gul'dan. I love it. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is more than I could have hoped for.
What's another question? One. These are fun.
Yeah.
Cool. So the next one is a simple sort of query, I'd say. Okay. So in the first raid in Legion, the Emerald Nightmare, our first encounter is a dragon guardian named Nythendra.
Yes.
Looking back at her with the context of Dragonflight and the Azure Span, all of the aesthetic design seems very linked with decay magic.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Again, we go back to what I said 2 callers ago. if I look at the old gods, because the nightmare, we are told, is sprayed by the old gods, right? It's specifically Yogg-Saron that built this backdoor into the dream and sort of started spreading his influence within it. And then eventually all of the other old gods sort of piggybacked onto that connection that they now had, and they kept spreading it. The one interesting thing is, it never changes. It always remains very much decay magic. And this is where my theory comes from, where I believe the old gods are actually from the realms of decay, not from the realms of the void. I don't think the void either exists, or if they do exist, I don't think we've ever seen them. The Titans just sort of accepted that, this must come from the void, because where else would it come from? They know that it's not creatures of death, it's not creatures of disorder, it's not creatures of the light or of life or of order, so it must come from this other force that they think must be out there somewhere, and that's just sort of what they decided. But from every aspect, Yogg-Saron calls himself the god of death. Yogg-Saron creates Galakrond, very much of the decay, and also breathes death, like literal death. And it's interesting when you read Dawn of the Aspects, Galakrond's breath doesn't kill on contact. Galakrond's death just makes you lose all will to live. It slowly sort of eats at you. It decays you over time. Like, the longer you're in his breath, the weaker you become. Right? So it's fully decay. And now, as you said, you go into the Emerald Nightmare. The dragon there is 100%, like, all of their abilities is very much decay magic. I think it proves that the old gods are not void. They're decay. They're of the realms of decay. Or decay is of void. That could probably also be true, right? So void created decay, which then sort of makes you wonder what came first. Because according to Steve Denuser, the elemental magics are the sort of primal magics of the universe. The cosmological magics are the high magics of the universe. So was the primal magics first, and out of the primal magics, the high magics were built? Were the high magics first, and out of the high magics, the primal magics were built? Or are these things not connected at all, insofar as, their birth is concerned?
Interesting, yeah, because when I wrote this question, I very much was thinking, oh, there's a bit of decay sort of snuck into the nightmare. But yeah, if it's just the same stuff as all the other old god stuff, then it really makes complete sense to be there.
Well, yeah.
If intended or not.
I mean, it wasn't obvious to us, because we didn't actually know who created Galakrond. Remember, up until Dragonflight, the creation of Galakrond was a massive mystery. But then in Dragonflight, they confirmed that it was Yogg-Saron that infected the waters, and then Galakrond drank of the waters, and that is how Galakrond became Galakrond, the one that we're afraid of. And then you sort of have to start asking yourself, but wait a second, why is all of his powers decay? If he was empowered by the old gods, as they say he was, then he would have been an old god, right? He would have had old god powers. Because
maybe he should have manifested, like Deathwing and Cataclysm, yep.
Yeah, but why did Deathwing not manifest the same way? Because Deathwing isn't pure decay. Deathwing is order
they're
magic.
Keeping stuff from us.
Well, yeah, kind of, right? Because I have videos that I want to make eventually, but okay, so Deathwing isn't pure decay magic. Deathwing is order magic mixed with decay. But Deathwing is order first, right? Because he was created by the Titans. The Titans turned him into Deathwing, or Naltharion the Earth Warder, and then eventually he became, Deathwing. But so they could only influence him. They couldn't completely corrupt him or completely change him. They could only influence him to use his abilities in their name. But they couldn't make him one of them. Not like Galakrond. Proto-Drakes are different. Proto-Drakes sort of suck any magic that they can get their hands on into themselves. So Galakrond could turn into an avatar of Yogg-Saron with very little problems, whereas Deathwing wouldn't, because order magic is present, and that's the thing, right? That's why Deathwing wanted to keep the order magic very much intact with the Drakthir, because you remove the order magic and the being becomes corruptible, and that becomes a problem. He wanted to keep them pure.
Interesting.
That's my theory, at least.
Yeah. Fantastic. That more than covers that point.
All right, what's the next question? We'll do one more.
All right, one more serious one, and then I'll throw in a silly one after that.
All right,
cool. So this next one is themed on the machinations of Odin since his freedom from Helya.
Okay.
So in running through the Trial of Valor raid recently, I was struck by Odin's line after Helya is defeated, where he says, "I am free."
Yeah.
And this struck me as significant in the sense that he's been locked up in his halls, dicking around for how long? A long ass time.
Yeah.
And finally, he's no longer confined by that. Now, I know he had some stuff in the Shadowlands with the with his eye, but we've had a 5-year time jump. He has had all this time locked up and has whatever agenda he may.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he may have sinister plans? And if so, or if not so, how do you think he's using his newfound time in freedom?
So, it's interesting, right? Xalatath calls Odin a great enemy until his own arrogance caused his undoing. Because, yes, when he basically forced Helya into Helheim, he sort of got himself fucked as well, right? In the process of that entire thing. So his own arrogance truly did lead to his undoing. He could no longer inflict his reign of chaos or tyranny on Azeroth. Now that he's free, I do think he's probably stepping up efforts at building his Valajar army. To what end, I don't know, though. Because from just the reading of what their purpose was, they were always meant to fight the old gods. But the old gods, of course, right now is kind of gone. At least from what we know. They are gone. So is Odin just chilling? I'd like to know your thoughts on this. Since you asked the question, you must have an idea of what you think he's been doing.
Frankly, I wasn't sure. I was very interested in your insight on this. I think the idea that he's building or strengthening his army makes a lot of sense. More Valkyr, more Valajar.
Yep.
Makes me think of a Stormheim that looks a lot more like the Halls of Valor, perhaps. Yeah, because I mean, we saw one bit of him on the Broken Shore, which all the Order Halls got a little bit of, and otherwise, yeah, it just seems like this fresh opportunity to really influence far beyond what he had before.
Yeah,
could open a lot of possibilities.
That's what I would argue. It all depends on what his initial sort of goals are. Because I don't trust Odin. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never trusted Odin. I've always said Odin is a massive fucking problem for me. Because
I'm a warrior. He was in my order hall. I don't trust him either.
Yeah, the problem with Odin is he says one thing then does another. And he fucked over his own daughter. So that should tell you just how horrible a person he is, right? So I don't...
Yeah.
And he's not even based on a good guy, to be fair. The original Odin in real life was also a bit of a dick sometimes. So it is...
He was as much a trickster god as people claim Loki was.
Yeah.
A lot of the Norse gods, they didn't exactly have a single portfolio, as they just kind of shared the portfolio of, oh, we're also dickheads.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that most gods are dickheads at the end of the day. But no, I think Odin... So Odin clearly had major plans. This is what I will say. I can't answer your question in detail, but I will say this. Odin's plans clearly extended far beyond what we could see. The fact that he traded his eye for the ability to see into the Shadowlands should be sort of point blank our first red flag with Odin. Why would he need that power? None of the other Watchers ever needed that power. There's nothing on Azeroth that suggests that that power would ever be required. But he did do it. And the reason he couldn't claim his eye back once it was starting to be misused was because he was locked up inside, his own halls. Now that he's free and he's gotten his eye back and he is now basically able to exact his plan that he originally wanted to exact, I think we should all be worried. Because there is no more Helia to really block him from what he ultimately wants to do. Most of the other Titan Keepers are either completely useless now, just sort of hanging about, not sure what to do with their lives, or dead.
Definitely someone to keep an eye on.
Yes.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I would say.
Get out of this chat.
I would say you have to keep an eye on that guy because it's gonna be whatever it is. It's gonna be spicy, I think.
Yeah, and to follow on your Norse mythology reference, there's a quote compared to Odin from an article I really like on it, which compares the ancient Odin's attitude as not being far from one of Nietzsche's dictums, which is, "You say it is the good cause that hallows even war. I say unto you, it is the good war that hallows any cause." And I think that'd be a fascinating philosophy to be adapted to the Warcraft Odin.
They probably do, and they probably did, because Odin and the Titan Keepers are very much heavily inspired by Norse mythology and also Egyptian mythology. Basically split down the middle between those two mythologies. So there is a good chance that all of that does encompass what Odin is. We know that he is all for war. Why else would you have an entire heaven built for warriors? Where all they do is train the whole day for some kind of war that we don't know why. What's
it was
this
all
war
for the Legion, surely.
Yeah, of course. That's the official story. This is like CIA level shits. What they tell you and what's true. Right?
even when we're in the Dragon Isles and getting Tyr's memories and that little silver scale, there's parts of it that are redacted that are probably because Odin said, no, we can't tell, nobody can know about that.
Yeah.
And then in that vision that follows up on it, Odin or Tyr, my apologies, Tyr admits to Norse Domu that there are some things that only keepers are supposed to know.
Yeah. So Odin has no love lost for mortals, just FYI. Read the Book of Tyr. You'll understand. Odin can't stand us. As far as he's concerned, we are barely tolerable. Like, barely. It's fine as long as we're kept in the dark, as long as we're not told anything, and as long as we keep to ourselves. It's fine. We can sort of exist. He'll allow it. But Odin has no love lost for us. He genuinely, I think he would go to war with us in an instant if that served these purposes.
He'd probably offer the warriors the chance to fight in his army.
Likely, after he kills them. Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because he's...
Hey, we do start our order hall with dying, so...
Yeah, there you go. Maybe you are already fighting for Odin, and you don't even know it.
Oh, no! I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, you might be fighting already for Odin. You just don't know it yet, because technically you did die and you did go there, right? And he did induct you into his army.
Suddenly we have two warriors looking at each other. Heinrich, are we the bad guys?
Exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh yeah. What was your fun question? You said you had one fun one.
Yeah. All right. I've got a silly question. I'll close this out with here. And thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure to speak with you and you as well, Morning.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us, because it's been super fun.
Oh, fantastic! I've got more serious questions lined up for. Hopefully, I can catch the next Q&A.
Oh yeah.
All right, silly question. I've also got some what ifs. Those might be real fun.
Okay.
Silly. If Akalon were a battle pet, which one would he be?
Yeah. I don't know much about the battle pets, but I'm gonna say murky. Like a murky
Yeah.
pet.
That's
Just because
good.
those are the only ones I like.
Perfect.
Like I love the murky pets. Like I'd be Merkalon.
Yeah.
That'd be my
Oh
name.
man, they could totally do one that was themed after Gul'dan, and that'd be perfect for you.
Oh yes, yes, I'd love that.
Little spikes coming out of his back.
Yes, fuck, I'd love that. And then I want to be the big Murloc in the alternate Murloc universe.
Yep.
The one that's shitting and destroying everything. That's the one I want to be.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for the questions, man. Really appreciate it. Those were super fun.
Oh, you're very welcome. I look forward to sharing more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Every week, Friday nights, we're gonna be doing Q&A, boys. So strap in, get your questions ready.
I'll be here.
All right. Thank you very much, dude. Really appreciate it. Take care of yourself.
You too.
Peace. All right, chat. It's been fun. It's been super fun, but now I have to love and leave you because I have a Patreon podcast to get to. We're already 40 minutes late on that one, so so much for time management and all that stuff.
Well-oiled machine.
Oh yeah, as you guys might have guessed, I know what the fuck I'm doing. But yeah, so we have the Patreon podcast coming up now. If you are a patron, please remember to head over to Patreon. The link will be there for all of you. If you're a YouTube channel member, the link will be in the community section for YouTube. So yeah, this goes out to YouTube and patron members. For all the Twitch subs that's wondering where the hell is our podcast, you get 5 days a fucking week. We do podcasts every single day here. So you do get your podcast. This one is exclusively for patrons and YouTube members because they don't get weekly streams or daily streams even. What about the mods? Aren't you guys invited usually, Abaddon? Pretty sure you are. It goes out to War Room. But okay, anyways. I will see all of you. I think I'm going to stream during the weekend because I really want to play Hogwarts Legacy. Don't take my word. Like, don't keep me to it because you guys know I like doing things outside on weekends. But I may actually stream this weekend just because I want to play Hogwarts Legacy. I really want to finish that game because I want to see what the end is like. And we have so many other games that we have to play that we still have to get to. So it's a nightmare. But anyways, yes, I will see all of you in the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, be kind to each other. Be good to each other. Peace out, fam.